Good morning, Arno. Second audio and video test. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Arno, can you confirm if I'm audible? Thank you.
The city's infrastructure and facilities. We do our best to provide housing opportunities to those who qualify. And we give rates and services relief to those who qualify. We also make sure fire, rescue and emergency services are well run and maintained. We maintain over 3,575 city parks. We make sure Cape Town's 104 libraries are well resourced and maintained. And we care for many sports and recreation facilities, including community centers, sports fields, beaches, and more. We're responsible for 35 early childhood development centers, as well as social development and early childhood development programs. We're making the internet more accessible by providing Wi-Fi to underserviced communities. The city also provides primary and environmental health care. We maintain 10 blue flag beaches and maintain 85% of Cape Town's coastline. We manage development to ensure buildings are safe and sustainable and that development happens properly. We also manage 23 nature reserves and various nature areas. The City of Cape Town, making progress possible together. The City of Cape Town is responsible for the efficient running of our city. We provide water, electricity, sanitation and refuse removal, and basic services to informal settlements where we are able to do so. Our transport and traffic services make sure you can get around. We're responsible for the Metro Police and law enforcement. And every day we maintain the city's infrastructure and facilities. We do our best to provide housing opportunities to those who qualify. And we give rates and services relief to those who qualify. We also make sure fire, rescue and emergency services are well run and maintained. We maintain over 3,575 city parks. We make sure Cape Town's 104 libraries are well resourced and maintained. And we care for many sports and recreation facilities, including community centers, sports fields, beaches and more. We're responsible for 35 early childhood development centers, as well as social development and early childhood development programs. We're making the internet more accessible by providing Wi-Fi to underserviced communities. The city also provides primary and environmental health care. We maintain 10 blue flag beaches and maintain 85% of Cape Town's coastline. We manage development to ensure buildings are safe and sustainable and that development happens properly. We also manage 23 nature reserves and various nature areas. The City of Cape Town, making progress possible together. The City of Cape Town is responsible for the efficient running of our city. We provide water, electricity, sanitation and refuse removal, and basic services to informal settlements where we are able to do so. Our transport and traffic services make sure you can get around. We're responsible for the Metro Police and law enforcement. And every day we maintain the city's infrastructure and facilities. We do our best to provide housing opportunities to those who qualify. And we give rates and services relief to those who qualify. We also make sure fire, rescue and emergency services are well run and maintained. We maintain over 3,575 city parks. We make sure Cape Town's 104 libraries are well-resourced and maintained. And we care for many sports and recreation facilities, including community centers, sports fields, beaches, and more. We're responsible for 35 early childhood development centers, as well as social development and early childhood development programs. We're making the internet more accessible by providing Wi-Fi to underserviced communities. The city also provides primary and environmental health care. We maintain 10 blue flag beaches and maintain 85% of Cape Town's coastline. We manage development to ensure buildings are safe and sustainable and that development happens properly. We also manage 23 nature reserves and various nature areas. The City of Cape Town, making progress possible together. The City of Cape Town is responsible for the efficient running of our city. We provide water, electricity, sanitation and refuse removal, and basic services to informal settlements where we are able to do so. Our transport and traffic services make sure you can get around. We're responsible for the Metro Police and law enforcement. And every day we maintain the city's infrastructure and facilities. We do our best to provide housing opportunities to those who qualify. And we give rates and services relief to those who qualify. We also make sure fire, rescue and emergency services are well run and maintained. We maintain over 3,575 city parks. We make sure Cape Town's 104 libraries are well-resourced and maintained. And we care for many sports and recreation facilities, including community centers, sports fields, beaches, and more. We're responsible for 35 early childhood development centers, as well as social development and early childhood development programs. We're making the internet more accessible by providing Wi-Fi to underserviced communities. The city also provides primary and environmental health care. We maintain 10 blue flag beaches and maintain 85% of Cape Town's coastline. We manage development to ensure buildings are safe and sustainable and that development happens properly. We also manage 23 nature reserves and various nature areas. The City of Cape Town, making progress possible together. The City of Cape Town is responsible for the efficient running of our city. We provide water, electricity, sanitation and refuse removal, and basic services to informal settlements where we are able to do so. Our transport and traffic services make sure you can get around. We're responsible for the Metro Police and law enforcement. And every day we maintain the city's infrastructure and facilities. We do our best to provide housing opportunities to those who qualify. And we give rates and services relief to those who qualify. We also make sure fire, rescue and emergency services are well run and maintained. We maintain over 3,575 city parks. We make sure Cape Town's 104 libraries are well resourced and maintained. And we care for many sports and recreation facilities, including community centers, sports fields, beaches, and more. We're responsible for 35 early childhood development centers, as well as social development and early childhood development programs. We're making the internet more accessible by providing Wi-Fi to underserviced communities. The city also provides primary and environmental health care. We maintain 10 blue flag beaches and maintain 85% of Cape Town's coastline. We manage development to ensure buildings are safe and sustainable and that development happens properly. We also manage 23 nature reserves and various nature areas. The City of Cape Town, making progress possible together. The City of Cape Town is responsible for the efficient running of our city. We provide water, electricity, sanitation and refuse removal, and basic services to informal settlements where we are able to do so. Our transport and traffic services make sure you can get around. We're responsible for the Metro Police and law enforcement. And every day we maintain the city's infrastructure and facilities. We do our best to provide housing opportunities to those who qualify. And we give rates and services relief to those who qualify. We also make sure fire, rescue, and emergency services are well run and maintained. We maintain over 3,575 city parks. We make sure Cape Town's 104 libraries are well resourced and maintained. And we care for many sports and recreation facilities, including community centers, sports fields, beaches, and more. We're responsible for 35 early childhood development centers, as well as social development and early childhood development programs. We're making the internet more accessible by providing Wi-Fi to underserviced communities. The city also provides primary and environmental health care. We maintain 10 blue flag beaches and maintain 85% of Cape Town's coastline. We manage development to ensure buildings are safe and sustainable and that development happens properly. We also manage 23 nature reserves and various nature areas. The City of Cape Town, making progress possible together. The City of Cape Town is responsible for the efficient running of our city. We provide water, electricity, sanitation and refuse removal, and basic services to informal settlements where we are able to do so. Our transport and traffic services make sure you can get around. We're responsible for the Metro Police and law enforcement. And every day we maintain the city's infrastructure and facilities. We do our best to provide housing opportunities to those who qualify. And we give rates and services relief to those who qualify. We also make sure fire, rescue, and emergency services are well run and maintained. We maintain over 3,575 city parks. We make sure Cape Town's 104 libraries are well resourced and maintained. And we care for many sports and recreation facilities, including community centers, sports fields, beaches, and more. We're responsible for 35 early childhood development centers, as well as social development and early childhood development programs. We're making the internet more accessible by providing Wi-Fi to underserviced communities. The city also provides primary and environmental health care. We maintain 10 blue flag beaches and maintain 85% of Cape Town's coastline. We manage development to ensure buildings are safe and sustainable and that development happens properly. We also manage 23 nature reserves and various nature areas. The City of Cape Town, making progress possible together. The City of Cape Town is responsible for the efficient running of our city. We provide water, electricity, sanitation and refuse removal, and basic services to informal settlements where we are able to do so. Our transport and traffic services make sure you can get around. We're responsible for the Metro Police and law enforcement. And every day we maintain the city's infrastructure and facilities. We do our best to provide housing opportunities to those who qualify. And we give rates and services relief to those who qualify.
Testing 1, 2.
We also make sure fire, rescue, and emergency services are well run and maintained. We maintain over 3,575 city parks.
Testing 1, 2,
We make sure
3.
Cape Town's 104 libraries are well resourced and maintained. And we care for many sports and recreation facilities, including community centers, sports fields, beaches, and more. We're responsible for 35 early childhood development centers, as well as social development and early childhood development programs. We're making the internet more accessible by providing Wi-Fi to underserviced communities. The city also provides primary and environmental health care. We maintain 10 blue flag beaches and maintain 85% of Cape Town's coastline. We manage development to ensure buildings are safe and sustainable and that development happens properly. We also manage 23 nature reserves and various nature areas. The City of Cape Town, making progress possible together.
Good morning, councillors.
The City of Cape Town is responsible for the efficient running of our city.
Welcome to all councillors and officials linked to this MS Teams virtual meeting, as well as the media and the members of the public connected via the live YouTube link. A special word of welcome to the representatives of the Auditor General's Office who are joining us via the live YouTube link. I now call for a moment's silence. Thank you. Councillors, we will now proceed with the electronic registration. A link will be posted in the IM box. So please click on the link in order to register. Okay. Proceed. I now call on the Mayor to give his address. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Can I just confirm that you can both see and hear me?
Yes, we can. Continue.
Thank you, and good morning to you, Madam Speaker. Good morning, fellow councillors and aldermen. Goeiemorgen, molweni, assalamu alaikum, shalom, namaste, good morning to everyone. Now, of course, this is not actually our first council meeting of 2026. We had a wonderful first meeting last week in City Hall, during which we bestowed the freedom of the city on two of Cape Town's most cherished and wonderful treasures, David Kramer and the late Talib Peterson. It was an evening of strong emotions and deep meaning as we revisited the lives and works of these two giants. And it was also a reminder of some of the things that make Cape Town such a special and beautiful city. But today, of course, is our first all work, no play meeting of the year. And so I'd like to officially welcome you all back to work and to what promises to be a very busy and productive, and of course, for reasons known to us all, exciting a year ahead in 2026. I hope that you're well rested and recharged, because what we need to achieve this year will require all of our energy and our passion. And I'm looking forward to a year in which we will break new records and surpass all of our previous achievements in delivering dignity and opportunity and hope to the residents of Cape Town, and continue building this city to its full potential. Those of you who joined us for the City Hall last week for the Freedom of the City were privileged to be part of a very special occasion, and it is a privilege to be here for our first meeting. Colleagues, I'd like to extend the city's thanks and appreciation to every member of this incredible team Cape Town, who was on duty over the Christmas and New Year period, and who helped ensure that we had one of our best festive seasons ever. It takes a huge effort from so many different departments and organizations to keep Cape Town and Cape Townians and visitors safe on our roads, beaches, and mountains, and to ensure that our city's public spaces look and feel clean and that they are welcoming over this busy period. And we have to fight fires, to continue to deliver basic services, to assist anyone who needs emergency attention or those in need, to attend to faults, to maintain all of our public facilities, and do all of this while most Cape Townians are on holiday. And I'm really pleased to say that Team Cape Town achieved all of this festive season and more. Our beaches were clean, our public pools were open and so well used. Our city services over this time worked like clockwork, and even when things went wrong, as they always will from time to time, our teams were responsive and quick to action. And that makes me very proud of this team, and I'd really like to record my thanks and the thanks of our council. This festive season also capped our very best ever year in terms of passenger numbers through Cape Town Airport. We broke new records for the first time, crossing over the 11 million passenger number that passed through the terminal in 2025. That is a new record for Cape Town, and it's the second year in a row that we've broken our previous record. Last year, 10.9 million, this year up to 11.1 million people. And in just December alone, we again broke our previous record for December by welcoming 364,000 international passengers through the airport and 754,000 domestic passengers through the airport just in the month of December. I also saw just a couple of days ago some incredibly interesting and positive data from a local company called Yoco. We all know Yoco. When we go to small businesses and community businesses and you tap with your phone or you tap with your card, that point of sale company called Yoco, which is a proudly Cape Townian company, which is now dominating across South Africa and is actually a global company. They released some fascinating data just a couple of days ago, and I wanted to share some of that. So they service more than 200,000 small businesses and neighborhood businesses across South Africa. And here's what their number shows. During the festive season, international visitors spent over 500 million rand in Cape Town's small and neighborhood businesses. That is over 500 million rand in just a little over a month, just from international visitors. And this is just through the Yoco system, not counting all of the other payment gateway systems out there. They also showed that through their system, bartenders and wait staff earned 14 million rand in tips from international guests in December. And there was some very encouraging growth. International card transactions were up 23% from last year in Cape Town. And perhaps best of all, Cape Town was responsible for 67% of all tourism expenditure in South Africa during the festive season. Colleagues, it's no exaggeration to say that tourism in Cape Town is now surely the strongest growing part of the whole of South Africa's economy. Let's just take a moment to think about what would happen if the rest of South Africa's economy was growing at the same pace as tourism in Cape Town. And we were seeing those numbers that I've just read to you now, but across every sector of our economy. What we would see is that unemployment would be halved, or even more than halved, in a very short space of time. And that is why we obsess so much about helping ease the red tape and cut red tape in our city, making it an investment-friendly place, helping small businesses, helping informal traders, and making this the seat of economic growth in South Africa. And we can see that that's happening. We deeply believe that local businesses are at the heart of the success of the tourism economy. And it's really great to see local and neighborhood businesses thriving in this way. And as Cape Townians, this data should excite us all. Every one of these rands, all of those transactions, all of those visitors represents income for Cape Townians. 500 million rand flowing to small and medium and community businesses in Cape Town just in December. That means more income for Cape Townians. That means more jobs for Cape Townians. That means more people getting out of poverty. That is our mission. And so when we see results and statistics and data like that, it should excite all of us that we are achieving our mission. And so with even more new airlines and direct flights to be added in 2026, we really are on track to see those numbers keep growing and keep going up in the coming years, so that we can create even more jobs, because that is our biggest overriding mission, to get people out of poverty and into jobs in our city. And so when we see people working in hotels and restaurants and small businesses and transport and tour guides and retail and so many other businesses that feed off this huge and growing market, we are very, very happy indeed. So we are very grateful for all the work that has gone into making this possible, by marketing our city out there to the world and by working hard to open our skies to more and more flights. Madam Speaker, the most important item on today's agenda is the passing of the January adjustment budget. Our budgets, as I have often said in this term of office, are the most critical step in delivering on our pledges to the residents of Cape Town. And our very capable finance team puts in a huge amount of effort to ensure that our priorities are correctly reflected and that our important projects are entirely and properly funded, and that the city's finances remain sustainable throughout. I really want to thank our finance team, Siseko Mbandezi, and our CFO and the whole budgets team for the work that has gone into this. This adjustment budget reflects changes made to our capital budget midway through the financial year to bring the budget in line with any changes to the pace and scope of our many projects. Now, of course, it's a lengthy and detailed document, but I want to briefly touch on a couple of significant items. Projects that will impact the lives of many Cape Townians and for which we had to shift money either forward or backwards to optimally fund them. The first of these that I want to address directly is the N2 Edge project. This is the security barrier that will be constructed along a stretch of the N2 highway and which will make a very significant positive difference to the safety of every motorist along that stretch and the reduction of pedestrian deaths. Now, I've already seen some of the predictable responses and charges on this. So let me be very clear about a few things today. First, the N2 already has a security barrier. It is just completely dilapidated and there's nearly nothing left of it. It needs to be replaced and repaired. Second, and perhaps much more importantly, it is simply not fair to the hundreds of thousands of daily users of the N2 highway that they must be the subject of attacks of a small number of criminal elements while on their commute to work and back. It is not fair to the residents of Khayelitsha, of Mitchell's Plain, of Blue Downs, of Easter River, of Mfuleni, of the Helderberg, and even people from neighboring towns who use the N2 to come to Cape Town to work every day. People from Stellenbosch and Theewaterskloof. Literally hundreds of thousands of people every day use that road, and many of them feel unsafe on that road, and that is not fair to any of them. It is their safety that we care about deeply here in the city of Cape Town. And let me say, there is nothing that we will not do to improve the safety of Cape Townians. We will investigate crime, we will train more officers, we will invest in technology, we will buy more vehicles, we will build whatever we need to build, we will do whatever we must to make Cape Town safer, and we make no apology for that. And if you want to campaign against a safer Cape Town, be my guest. And it matters not to me that it is actually supposed to be someone else's job or another state agency's job. Just as we've done in energy, just as we are doing in policing, just as we are doing in public transport, our approach is always the same. If there is a state institution that is failing our people, that is failing Cape Townians, we must try to do what we can to help. We may not be able to do everything and fix everything, but we can do something. That is what a government that cares does, and that is what we are going to do. Third, we are not just going to be building a safety barrier. We're also going to be fixing the road embankment along the N2 to actually make it better and more dignified for the communities along that stretch of road. We're talking new pedestrian crossings, improved lighting and access control, as well as the landscaping of the embankments and all necessary fire and flood considerations. We are also talking secondary interventions, such as safety barriers for designated recreational spaces in the communities, safer grazing and urban agriculture spaces alongside those highways, reducing the scope for illegal dumping and other opportunities arising from the coming engagements with communities along the N2. We envisage that beyond the immediate benefits of crime reduction and safer commuting for everyone who lives there, pedestrian safety will improve significantly. We'll have better control over the movement of livestock across that highway. And this N2 Edge project will also significantly improve the overall public space. So you will see today that Urban Mobility's budget increases by 7 million rand this year for the detailed design of the project, and then a further 108 million rand in next year to cover the bulk of the construction. This project is an important part of our broader plan to improve safety along the N2. You will recall already that in October last year, we launched a specialized unit of 45 Metro Police officers dedicated to patrolling the N2, the Borchitz Quarry area, and the R300. And this was part of our larger deployment of over 800 new Metro Police officers deployed across the Metro, including, of course, our now famous neighborhood officers in every ward. And I have personally tested these N2 officers by stopping randomly along the N2 and the R300 to check their response times. And in general, despite the fact that they are helping thousands of motorists, the response time has been excellent. And already we have seen a halving, a 50% reduction in criminal incidents over this festive season along the N2. These N2 officers are backed up by an extensive network of CCTV cameras, which I must point out, those CCTV cameras operating along the N2 are operated mainly by SANRAL, the South African National Roads Agency Limited. We have also put in place a specific response plan if we find that those cameras are not working and not being repaired, so that we can escalate it directly to SANRAL national management if needs be to get those cameras repaired quickly. We are also investing, as you know, in sophisticated camera devices for our officers that have automatic number plate recognition. And these are investments that I'm pleased are actually paying off. Just a few statistics. Between September of 2024 and the 11th of January this month, so roughly a 16 or 17-month period, our officers assisted 2,895 motorists on the N2 between Langa and Firgrove, with issues that range from mechanical failure and breakdowns and flat tires to indeed isolated criminal attacks on motorists. More than 1,000 of these incidents were indeed detected by our CCTV operators sitting in our traffic control center and coordinating with those SANRAL cameras, who were then able to dispatch the help that these motorists needed. The point I'm making is that safety along the N2, along the R300, along the N7, along the N1, all of our main arterials and highways, is going to take a multi-pronged response. It is not just about one investment or one deployment of officers. It's about a coordinated and multi-pronged response with all of our investments. And yes, hopefully the commitment from the responsible government agencies themselves, as well as our dedicated patrols, all combining to make this highway in particular a safer space for all Cape Townians. And indeed, as I say, the many people who come from Stellenbosch and Theewaterskloof to use that road. Madam Speaker, another exciting project that receives attention and a shifting of funds in today's adjustment budget is the wonderful redevelopment of the Strandfontein Pavilion. For those councillors who don't know where Strandfontein is or have never visited the Strandfontein Pavilion, it's on Baden-Powell Drive. Those of us who've lived in Cape Town know exactly where it is, on the False Bay coastline. This was one of Cape Town's most iconic public places and is still a very well-visited place because it's also home to the largest public tidal pool in the entire Southern Hemisphere, something we're very proud of. Now, when I was elected, I visited with residents in Mitchell's Plain who told me wonderful, nostalgic stories of how they used to visit the Strandfontein Pavilion back in the day, how they had met their girlfriends and eventually their wives there, and how it was such a wonderful public space and public community that was really the heartbeat to the community. And I was determined then that this place must be restored. It cannot be allowed to be beaten and broken by all of the elements and the wind and the salt there to the point where it must become abandoned. This wonderful place simply must be restored. It must be rebuilt, and indeed it must even be improved so that many, many more generations of Cape Townians can enjoy it again. So it really gives me pleasure to announce that not only is its refurbishment plan steaming ahead full steam, but we are in fact ahead of schedule, which is why you will see that we are bringing funds forward in today's adjustment budget so that we can get more work done this year. In total, the project receives an additional 11.3 million rand in this year to allow work to proceed faster there. We had a very successful public participation process about a year ago with some great inputs from the community. And those inputs have been incorporated into the final design, which is really beautiful, a special final design. We also did something that was a very interesting process called a cultural mapping process, where people's stories and memories of that place were captured. And those stories and memories were actually used by the design team to help make the final design. And so the final design and the redeveloped Strandfontein Pavilion will actually include and will be representative of the heritage and identity of the broader Mitchells Plain and Strandfontein community. So we are very close now to breaking ground on the construction work. We're just a matter of weeks away, and we cannot wait to complete this beautiful redevelopment and to see how much joy it brings to thousands of Cape Townian families. Of course, parallel to that, we are also working on something that is truly groundbreaking for Cape Town. And I know that in the decades ahead, we will look back on this Strandfontein nodal development as something that was a truly groundbreaking development that we will all remember fondly as having done the right and good thing for our city. In parallel to the pavilion upgrade, we are releasing land around the Strandfontein Pavilion for residential development along the False Bay coastline for the first time ever. For decades, people have been told they cannot, despite the fact that they are agonizingly close to that beautiful coastline in Mitchells Plain, they cannot live on the coastline because, of course, in the days of apartheid, that was not designated for them. And now we are saying we see a future in which people who live so close to the coastline can absolutely live right at that coastline and enjoy one of the most beautiful coastlines in the world. So I know that so many people, in particular Councillor Christians, have been campaigning this for many years. In fact, most of his entire career in politics have been dedicated to campaigning for this one issue. And later this year, and before the end of our term, I hope that we will be able to make his dreams come true and the dreams of so many others who have lived along that coastline for so many decades. So colleagues, further highlights from this adjustment budget include a very welcome 400 million rand injection from the National Treasury to our city. And that is in recognition of the progress we've made in the Metro Trading Services Reform Program. You'll recall that when we made the various budget reforms last year, in order to make our trading services, our utility services sustainable, in water, in sanitation, electricity, and waste, one of the motivations was to qualify for this very large incentive grant funding available from the National Treasury. And I'm pleased to say that this 400 million rand is the first tranche of that performance incentive grant. Not every city has received it. There are other metros in the country that have not received any allocation because they are not performing on that Metro Trading Services reform. But we have received a large first allocation. We are looking forward to even larger second and third allocations. And this 400 million rand, of course, it's a once-off allocation. And so we allocate it directly into capital projects to reduce our borrowing requirements in this year. Councillors, this is a very important matter that many of our ward councillors have raised over the years. We are also increasing our investment in upgrading stormwater infrastructure, particularly in communities often hardest hit by winter flooding. These are relatively small projects compared to our other giant projects. But despite the fact that they may be small, they make a big difference to people's dignity during our wet winters. A new stormwater project recently completed in Samora Machel has meant that several blocks and hundreds of informal homes were dry last winter, many for the first time ever. And that was so wonderful to see. Such a big upgrade in dignity for residents living there. Now, these projects are exceedingly difficult to do. They might be small in monetary value, but they're very, very tough to execute. But we must do more of them, and we are budgeting for that. So this budget includes 57 million rand for additional stormwater projects in communities hardest hit by winter flooding. I really would like to increase this budget allocation significantly more in the years ahead. And we will have some more to report on this in the main budget come March. Colleagues, over the last few years, we've pursued a deliberate funding strategy, which we've been very transparent about, of increasing our investment in public sport and recreation facilities, because we want to bring them up to the standard that we expect of our city. Every single resident in Cape Town, no matter where they live in Cape Town, deserves sport and recreation facilities that reflect our city's values of care and excellence. This investment strategy continues today. Our public swimming pools receive an additional 46 million rand over the next 3 years for additional upgrades. These pools are a vital part of Cape Townians' lives, particularly if you live in a small, crowded homes or council rental flats or shacks and have few other options for outdoor space. It's critical that these pools work and are beautiful. And I must say, it was such a personal joy to me to visit many of these pools this season and to swim with thousands of Cape Townians enjoying the cool water together. It was also a joy to visit Blue Downs indoor pool this week after its upgrade was recently completed. That indoor pool has recently had a refurbishment and it is looking amazing. It's looking beautiful. And what was so wonderful to hear from our facilities manager there, a wonderful colleague called Rafiq, he told me that a massive 40,000 people used that swimming pool just this festive season. That is what we love to hear. When so many people from Blue Downs, Mfuleni, Delft and surrounds are using an indoor facility that has been so beautifully refurbished, that is wonderful to hear. So also this week, I went along with Councillor Hyam to visit the newly revamped and upgraded Blue Downs Athletic Stadium, which is simply beautiful. Again, it was a joy to hear how crowded the track is every evening after work. As residents come home from work, they come home to Blue Downs or Mfuleni and they go there to use it as a safe, open exercising space. And the facilities manager tells me that in the evenings, it's actually difficult to find a space on the track because it is being so well used. And while I was there, I also met a military veteran, a retired Sergeant Major, Mr. Slamat from the South African Army. And he told me that he is there at 6:30 every morning to run laps around that track. And he told me how thrilled and happy he is to see this beautiful new facility. And I want to say thank you to Sergeant Major Slamat for his service to our country. And we are proud to deliver facilities of such excellence to citizens like him. Community Services and Health Directorate will receive an additional 30 million rand in this adjustment budget for maintenance and upgrade of our public facilities. We've also made some important adjustments to our safety and security budget. We continue to invest everything that we can in helping SAPS to fight crime in Cape Town. We know that we are not the lead agency, but we will do whatever we can to help. And so today we make an additional 45 million rand investment, and this is mainly for the setting up of our new Joint Policing Center in Parow. This new Joint Policing Center is going to become the expanded nerve center for our entire safety coordination and will include space for SAPS to work in our building alongside our officers, together with various other agencies in a high-tech, integrated environment. And I look forward to seeing that new policing center when it is complete. We've also allocated an additional 16 million rand. Ward councillors in particular will be pleased to hear 16 million rand to increase the number of vehicles for our neighborhood safety officers. And finally, a small allocation, but one that's close to our heart, and I'd like to mention it, is an additional 5 million rand that we are allocating to help early childhood development centers by covering the costs that they would ordinarily have to pay to the city to build on to their buildings or to get building and land use approval. This is part of our ongoing work to make it simpler and cheaper to run an ECD in Cape Town, particularly in poorer communities. We know that it is mainly women who run ECDs in poorer communities, and we know that the essential work that these women do to help raise and educate our children. We want to make it easier for them to do so and cheaper for them to do so. And so we are allocating this additional 5 million rand on top of what we've already allocated to cover some of those costs on their behalf. Colleagues, these are just some of the highlights in this longer document. I have not mentioned everything. There is an executive summary up front, which you can read as well. But each one of the line items matters a lot. Each one matters to a particular community. And all of them matter collectively for the progress that we continue to make as our city and the fulfillment of our goal to build a city of hope. What we are trying to achieve here is more than just building a city of prosperity and care for Cape Townians. Of course, we want that, and we are seeing that to an ever greater degree. But we also want to show South Africa that success in our country is possible. We do not have to settle for disappointment and disillusionment. The line items in this adjustment budget represent our commitment and our investment in the future of this great, great city. And they also point to the progress that we have made on our journey so far. As we embark on our final year of this term of office together, let us also remember how far we've come in the previous 4 years. We can rightly feel proud of our milestones and of the progress that we have made to improving services, fixing problems, and building a fairer, more dignified city for all who live in it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, now you may ask questions in terms of Rule 11.2, and the following parties have that opportunity. The ANC, Councillor Tehido.
Good morning, Madam Speaker, and good morning, Mr. Mayor. Am I audible, Speaker?
You are audible. You may continue.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And Mr. Mayor, on the recognition of the work or the example you've made about Yoko, the successes that Yoko has reported on, that has been achieved by one Cape Town-based company. Would the mayor also, with the same enthusiasm, also consider the success that has been recorded by CODETA, the Taxi Association, on the 0 death on the roads in the last December in Cape Town? Would it not that be also in recognition of great work done by small businesses or businesses in Cape Town? Thank you very much.
Do you want to take all the questions, or do you want to take one at a time? Thank you. The Al Jamar, Councillor Ahmad Adams. Adams, not in the meeting. We're going to move on then to the NCC, Councillor Davids.
Good morning, everybody present. Am I audible?
Good morning. Yes, you're audible. You can continue. We'll come back to Councillor Ahmad afterwards.
Mayor, the Cape Flats are bleeding. In coloured communities like Atlantis, Mitchells Plain, Hanover Park, Manenberg, mothers are bearing their children week after week. In Atlantis, die no beste, while one of the best young soccer players in the community had his whole future taken away. In Hanover Park, Melanie Hendricks lost a son, an innocent child playing at the park, with his whole life ahead of him. These are not isolated cases. These are lived realities of families across the Cape Flats. As Talib Peterson once said, "Who's sien hulle dan vir ons?" Without deflecting responsibility to the national government, noting that the Democratic Alliance is part of the national government through the GNU. Does the mayor honestly believe that deploying approximately 4 LEAP officers in these communities is enough to stop the killings and protect our children? Yes or no? Finally, Madam Speaker, and for the record, hands of Two-Song Center Atlantis, and I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Is Councillor Ahmad available again? Councillor Ahmad, try again.
Good morning, Speaker, and Mr. Mayor, can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Mr. Mayor, I wish to echo your sentiments on good work done over the festive season by all our city workers. Indeed, it was an honor to witness the posthumous of Talib Peterson as well as David Kramer. My concern was simply that it's just a pity we forgot about Imam Harun as a posthumous, who's done exactly the same what Talib Peterson done to his music. My question to the mayor is, as we come over the freeway, like I see in your office, I see Desmond Tutu as well as Madiba behind you. Will we see Talib Peterson as well as Imam Harun as we come over the freeway on the city buildings? I thank you.
I see a hand for Alderman Limburg. Do you have a point of order, Alderman?
Apologies, Speaker, that was raised in error.
Thank you. We'll move on then to the question from the CIP.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Mayor, I was shocked to discover on the DA website that you have a policy called Opportunity Beyond Borders. Essentially, this policy renders South Africa borderless, or in other words, puts in place mechanisms that will allow foreign nationals from Nigeria, Ghana, Somalia, any one of the 1.5 billion people across Africa to flood into South Africa with incentives to take advantage of our welfare system and remain here permanently. We are already seeing this in practice where illegal immigrants have taken over areas of Tableview, Sunningdale, Blouberg, the Strand, Somerset West, the Deep South, and many buildings in the CBD known as Nigerian drug dens. But
is this relating to the mayor's speech? Because that's what the question is about.
This is the question to the mayor.
But, but it needs to relate to his speech before this. So okay. Try and find a way of linking that quickly before I turn you off.
Okay. The City of Cape Town could stop this if you wanted to. The bylaw referenced previously, the Streets, Public Places and Prevention of Nuisances bylaw empowers you to arrest and consequently deport such individuals. So my question is, although South African law empowers the City of Cape Town to arrest and deport illegal immigrants, do you not do so because of the DA's policy called Opportunity Beyond Borders? Thank you.
The next question is from the DA, Councillor Mahalanga. Okay. Councillor Mahaga, are you not able to get to microphone with a colleague?
Yeah, am I audible, Speaker, now?
Yes, you're audible now. Continue.
Okay. Thank you very much, Speaker. Mayor, I just want to ask, why is it necessary for the City of Cape Town to invest 180 million rands on an arterial route wall erection when it is the mandate of the national government to do so? And does this perhaps strengthen the need for a devolution of powers to capable municipalities?
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, you now have an opportunity to answer all of those questions.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and let me thank the Leader of the Opposition for raising that very remarkable statistic, which I really join him in giving significant credit to our local taxi industry for the fact that they had 0 taxi-related deaths this festive season. That is a remarkable achievement, and I thank them and congratulate them for that. I think that that clearly turns or points to a turn in improved adherence to road rules and safe driving principles, and the results are there, and I really appreciate that. So thank you for mentioning that. I also, now that you mention it, I was prompted to say thank you very much to the City of Cape Town's hundreds of lifeguards, lifesavers at our beaches and swimming pools. This year, we still did unfortunately have 5 fatal drownings, but that is a much lower number than we've had in recent years. I believe, if I recall the numbers correctly, that last year we had 15, and this year it is down to 5. And that again points to residents listening more carefully to our lifeguards, being more alert and doing a great job. And so I want to thank all of them. We had nearly 700 lifeguards on duty this festive season. Many of them are still on duty, and I really thank them. So to Codeta, the local taxi industry, to our lifeguards, to residents, indeed, thank you. That's a great success. To Councillor Ahmad from Al Jamar, thank you for your recognition of city workers as well. I wish to remind him that the civic honours process is a public process. We issue a public call for nominations, and we receive thousands of nominations. So when it opens again, he's very welcome to nominate whomever he wishes, and we'll certainly consider that. He's now the second person. I think it was Councillor Jansen in the DA as well who suggested that perhaps these new Freedom of the City recipients should go on the Civic Centre along with Archbishop Tutu and President Mandela. And if that is something that has wider support, we can certainly look at that. I personally have no objection to doing that, and I think it would be beautiful. NCC, Councillor Davids, the things that you refer to are truly unspeakable tragedies. And as a parent myself, as most of us here in this meeting are parents, it's very hard to comprehend just the scale of the tragedy and the unbelievable loss, the shattering of those families and the pain that they experience. And my heart goes out to them, and you know, I send them my sincere love and condolences. But I do want to take issue with your numbers, because in fact our LEAP deployment is far higher than that. So, for example, the number 1 murder hotspot in Cape Town is the Philippi East precinct, which includes also Hanover Park and Philippi East and Browns Farm. That's the same police precinct, as you know. And that has got 180. That is our largest LEAP deployment, 180 dedicated officers there every single day. Now, they are broken into three shifts, yes. And so that's roughly 60 officers on duty per shift. And Alderman Smith is welcome to correct me on the numbers. I'm going from memory here, but I have quite a good memory for numbers. So far as I recall, we have around 150 permanently allocated to Delft, and we have about 120 permanently allocated to Mfuleni. and it is not based on political considerations of any sort, Councillor. It's based purely on where the crime stats tell us the issues are the most and the worst, and that gets our biggest deployments. On top of those deployments, what you are referring to is the neighborhood safety officers. That is an additional deployment that has nothing to do with LEAP. LEAP is our anti-gang intervention, and it is focused specifically on those hotspots with the highest statistics, and the deployments are way in excess of what you are saying. Now, of course, if we go to a place like Grassy Park, the numbers again are top of my mind. Grassy Park has a SAPS deployment of 1/3 of what it should be. So the number of SAPS officers in Grassy Park should be 3 times what they are. And so the officers that we are deploying there help to make up that gap a little bit, but they do not make up, we just don't have the billions required to make up the full gap between the 1/3 that's there and the 3 times that should be there, just to use Grassy Park as one example. And so we continue to advocate loudly. I don't think that you can claim that anyone has advocated more loudly for the correction of this resource imbalance and this outrageous and unjust allocation of resources, of SAPS resources to the crime issues in the Cape Flats. And again, our spirit, our ethic, our ethos is we will do what we can. We do not have 10,000 officers to allocate, but we will absolutely use those ones that we do have to focus on those where the statistics tell us the issue is the most severe. So I hope that clears up the confusion in your head about the difference between our neighborhood safety officers, which go across the city, allocated 5 to every ward, and our anti-gang officers, our LEAP deployment, which are focused on where the statistics tell us to focus. Councillor Miller, your questions get more and more bizarre each meeting. I just Googled here quickly on my laptop this policy that you referred to, and with the greatest respect, the idea that this policy renders, in your words, renders South Africa borderless is just patent nonsense. I'm just reading here from the policy. Now, you've obviously just twisted this to form a narrative in your mind that you wish to convey this narrative to your vanishingly tiny electorate. But it's an absolute distortion of the truth, because here it says the policy advocates for stronger border security, including increased well-resourced, I'm just reading here, well-resourced border management and a reduction in illegal undocumented immigration. And for those who want to come to the country legally, that they can do so in a transparent, efficient and secure manner for those who want to come here legally. So it is just patent nonsense to say that it renders South Africa borderless. And you talk about these places in Cape Town that, according to you, have been taken over by illegal immigrants. What evidence do you have for that statement? Have you gone and checked the immigration status of every person living in those places? Do you know for a fact that they have no permission to be in South Africa? If you do, then you are aware of a crime, and you should report that, please, to the Department of Home Affairs and the Border Management Agency immediately. In fact, very recently, just at the end of last year, in about October, September last year, the Minister of Police did actually extend, the devolution of policing powers is already happening. He did extend Immigration Control Act powers to local metro police. So you can, if you think that someone has is an illegal immigrant, please do report it, and we will follow that up. But you cannot just say, Councillor Miller, that because most residents in Parklands look different to you, that they must be illegal immigrants. I think that says something about your true motives. Then, Councillor Maga, thank you for your question. I'm glad that you raised this issue of SANRAL, because of course it is true that SANRAL is responsible for the N2 highway. SANRAL is responsible for the N1 highway, the N7. And that highway is in significant need of upgrade, and it is in significant need of greater security. So we've seen, for example, along the R300, there have been significant improvements in security done by Sunrail. And they have started to build a solid security barrier along the R300, and they've done that very large barrier in the middle of the road, which is very tough to get over. Anyone who drives on the R300 knows what I'm talking about. But they haven't done that on the N2, even though it is a much, much more used road than, hundreds of thousands of people use it. Now, when I came here 4 years ago, we started writing to them about the state of the highway and about the need for greater security on the highway. And all of that correspondence is on the record. Alderman Smith tells me that before I arrived at the city, he has been writing those letters for many years prior to that, begging them to take action for increased security on the highway, and without any luck. Now, you and I, Councillor, and everyone here has got a limited lifespan in office. We all know that mayors have got a two-term limit, and who knows, democracy is a funny thing. So who knows how long any of us could be here. So we must make every day count. I'm not prepared to sit around for 4 or 5 years writing letters, asking for someone to do something, knowing that they're not likely to do it. That is, if I've got a limited time to make a difference for the public, I'm going to use that time effectively. So I have frankly finished writing letters now. We are now just going to do it, and we're doing that more and more, I'm afraid. And that is the consequence of state failure. I'm not suggesting that that is an ideal scenario. That is not how South Africa should work. Ideally, state agencies would take responsibility for their functions, and they would do them properly. And we could all, do what we are supposed to do. But that's not the country we have at the moment. That's the country we need to aim to build in the future, but it's not the one that we have. And so we can sit around and write more letters, or we can get on with it and do something. And our approach, as I said in my speech, our approach is always, let's do something. We might not be able to do everything, but for goodness sake, let's do something. It's important for Cape Townians' safety, for the hundreds of thousands of people who use that road every day, and so many of whom write about how unsafe they feel and how they are the victim of these opportunistic attacks, and how there is just unrestricted access to a national road, which should not be the case. Nowhere in the world do you have unrestricted access to a national road. So that has to stop, and we are going to make it so. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We move on to the applications for leave of absence. Chief Whip, are there any applications for leave of absence from that you can table?
Yes, Speaker. Good morning to everyone. The apologies are as follows. Councillors August, Qantas, Masio, Sibunzi, Mohammed, Ilyas, Njiza, Pakari, Lau, Van der Linde, Berry, Kai, Van Reenen, Kamer, Nodliva, Ninkwashi, Njalwa. On sick leave is Councillors Assing, Nchweza, Popham, and late arrival will be Councillors Mess and Arendse, and early departure will be Councillors Helfrich and Councillor Schlossler. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much. Whips, are there any other applications for leave of absence which you wish to indicate in the IM box, which might not have been recorded yet? Councillor Mokungwana, is one of your caucus missing? Councillor Mokungwana? You are unmuted, sir.
Thank you, Speaker. I request to be released early because I've got a doctor's appointment at 2 o'clock.
Thank you very much. With a bit of luck, we'll be finished, but certainly you may be excused.
Thank
Councillor
you.
Mohammed?
Morning, Speaker. I heard Chief Whip mention Councillor Mohammed as absent with an apology. I am here and I did not submit an apology unless there's another councillor with the last name of Mohammed.
Okay, we'll check on that. Thank you very much. I want to, councillors, just announce the presence of councillors at this meeting. We have 34 ANC councillors present. We have 113 DA councillors present. We have 2 ARA councillors present. We have 6 ACDP councillors present. We have 1 AIC councillor. We have 3 Al Jamar councillors, 7 from the CCC, 2 from Cape Exit, 1 from CMC, 1 from the DI, 8 from the EFF, 4 from the Freedom Front Plus, 7 from Good, 4 from the PA, 1 from the PAC, 1 from the UDM, and 1 from the UIM, which gives us a total of 196 councillors out of the 230 councillors. So we will take, for all intents and purposes, those numbers when we deal with the voting as being present for the parties. So we move on then, there comes a Councillor Haynes, sorry. Councillor Haynes.
Thank you very much, Speaker. When we started this meeting, I counted 37 ANC councillors. However, in the process, Councillor Mkutswana started having a difficulty. I'm busy checking if he's back in the meeting. And Councillor Lombe indicated also difficulty, and he was going to join with Councillor Madikane. But so as I'm checking, I will speak to Rihanna via WhatsApp too.
That's perfect.
Thank you.
That's perfect. Thank you very much. Okay. And we have taken all the notes in the iron box in terms of presence in the meeting. All right, we move on then to the next section, which is announcements. And IT has confirmed with my office that all councillors have their own council-issued laptops and that none have been handed in for repairs. So we assume, therefore, that no councillors will be sharing a laptop. If there are any councillors sharing a laptop, please alert us to this immediately, which I've asked you in the iron box, and I can see some have, and we need to know why, so that we can deal with if there's a problem. And then the party whips were also requested to ensure that all of their councillors are able to connect to Outlook and Teams before the close of business yesterday. If this was done, there ought to be no problems with the councillors connecting to the meeting, but if there are, we need to be able to deal with it. A very detailed memo outlining the requirements for successfully connecting to today's meeting was sent by Mrs. Razak to all councillors. And this also includes the contact details of the IT support staff on duty at the relevant council-owned facilities should councillors require any assistance. So we move on now to section 5. And this is the official notices by the city manager. City manager, do you have any notices that you wish to table?
None, Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. We move then on to section 6, which is the confirmation of the minutes. There are 2 sets of minutes, one for the ordinary meeting of the 4th of December, and we start on page 5, moving through to page 84. So I did ask the councillors to check carefully that the attendances are recorded appropriately. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Councillor Tadela? Your hand was up, Councillor Tadela. You want to correct something?
Thank you very much, Speaker, and greetings. I said mice is off incorrect.
That's fine,
Speaker,
I understand, yes.
not a problem. Speaker, yeah, there are some corrections. I think Councillor Mazwi is noted or as absent. She was also a speaker on the day, so if it can be corrected for her attendance. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Just which councillor was that?
Councillor Linda Mazwi.
Mazwi, fine, we've got it. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Then with that correction, can we adopt the minutes? Yes, thank you. Second, yes, thank you. We go on then to the minutes of the next meeting, which is the special ceremonial meeting of the council, which was held in the auditorium at the City Hall. And once again, I did ask people to check the attendance because it was apparent that some people had not signed the attendance register at the entrance, and we might have mistakenly recorded them as being absent without apologies. Are there corrections to this? Councillor Riyad Davids?
Councillor, Speaker, I had an official sick leave for that period of time, so I was absent with apology, Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, we'll note that. Councillor Haynes?
Speaker, as agreed in the speakers forum for the programming meeting, I have emailed the names, but can I read it for the record? That must be added.
Please.
Okay, the following names for the special meeting that was listed as an apology is Councillor Marikane, Councillor Krina, Councillor Paia, Councillor Sopasi, Councillor Sonioka, Councillor Gunne, and Councillor Kido. Also, Councillor Treza is still on long sick leave, but I must apologize to you and the Chief Whip's office. An error on my part. I received his sick note whilst we were on recess and all the deurmekaarness that I was busy with. So I've only submitted his documentation on Tuesday, but he was on sick leave, the point that I want to make. Thank you very much, Speaker.
All right, that's fine. Mrs. Razak has got all of that, so we'll deal with that and correct the minutes accordingly. And then also, I see Councillor Haskin has a leave application, and then also, okay, so we've sorted that out. With those corrections, then can we accept that minute as correct? Yes, thank you. Approved, seconded, thank you. Then we move on. So we now go to the items that are agreed. Okay, so the following items have been agreed in volume 2A, item 8, in volume 2B, item 11, 12, 16 through to 19, 21, 22, and 24. In volume 3, item 27 is agreed. Items 28 to 31, items 33 to 37 are noted. 33 and 37 are noted. Are there any parties who wish to raise comments in regard to the above items which have been agreed? Okay, Councillor Tandela.
Thank you, Speaker. The EFF will submit its voting to the whip. Thank you very much.
It's comments on the vote, on those items.
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Then we move on. Councillors, the rest of the agenda, we commence with the discussion. I'm bringing forward item out of to the front, item 24A. This item was circulated separately, and the recommendations appear on page 5 and 7, and the mayor will present the item.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I table the item as it appears, but I do just have to read an explanation for the delay in the tabling of the Auditor General's opinion. And so allow me to please read this into the record. The Auditor General has not yet finalized the outcome of the city's audit due to technical engagements between the city manager and the Auditor General. The city appreciates the positive working relationship that we have with the AG's office and the spirit in which these routine engagements occur. The AG's office is always willing to engage at length and in detail, especially where technical matters are formally escalated for resolution, as they now have been. The Auditor General has been consistently, has also extended public praise consistently to the City of Cape Town for its good governance practices. Once the Auditor General has finalized the audit report, this will be tabled so that the necessary statutory processes can be completed on the overall integrated audited annual report, including public participation, oversight, and submission to the relevant authorities. For now, the city is tabling the annual report and related documents in the interim, with the audit report to be tabled just as soon as the Auditor General has finalized it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We have a recommendation on page 5 to page 7. Can we move that recommendation? Got a proposer? Seconder? Thank you. Right. Anyone against the recommendation? Indicate in the iron box, please. All right, we move on. Then we go to item 5. And the first speaker on that item is Councillor Bendeza. We clustered in the debate for item 5 and 6 together as agreed. Councillor Haynes, sorry, I missed your hand.
No, thank you, Speaker. I was just about to remind you that we've clustered the 2 items.
Thank you. Thank you. We are better together. Councillor, can we let Councillor Bendezi speak first, Godfrey?
Thank you, Speaker. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Section 72 of the MFMA requires that the accounting officer of a municipality to assess the municipal's performance for the first half of the financial year by the 25th January of each year. And this has been done, and all relevant matters have been reviewed, and they've been reported to the mayor and to the national and provincial treasury. The 25-26 adjustment budget entails the final shifts within our capital program in the current financial year, adjust our revenue and expenditure estimates based on the latest trends, and reflects adjustments to the city's grant allocation. These adjustments will have absolutely no negative impact on service delivery. In fact, the opposite is true. During the first half of the financial year, the city has generally performed well in achieving the set targets. Where targets were not met, remedial measures have been initiated, and in some instances, due to the fluid nature of the environment in which we operate and the unpredictability of various factors outside our control, targets have been amended to accommodate changed circumstances. For example, we are proposing a new methodology in respect of construction contingencies, whereby we budget for contingencies at the vote level rather than per project. And this will reduce the requirements for budgeted contingencies, unlocking additional funding to fast-track other infrastructure priorities. We have also reviewed all grant-funded projects to ensure that available grants are fully utilized. Where projects were delayed or could not proceed, funds were moved to projects that were progressing well and able to deliver within the year. This included shifting funds within and between departments to support high priority projects. Grant funding in the adjusted budget has also increased due to the introduction of a new urban development financing grant intended to support water and sanitation, energy infrastructure. This will allow the city to substitute certain loans and internal funding with grant funding, freeing up funds for another strategic and operational priorities. In addition, approved grant rollover from previous year were built into the budget, replacing temporary city funding that has been used to keep projects going. Finally, certain qualifying projects originally funded by the city or through loans will now be funded by suitable grants, such as urban settlement development grants. This will improve overall efficiency and reduce pressure on the city's own finances. In conclusion, Speaker, this adjustment confirms that the City of Cape Town is well on track with the implementation of its 2025-2026 budgets. They reflect a deliberate and measured effort to strengthen service delivery to all residents through efficient administration, sound governance, and strict fiscal discipline. Despite the constraints of our underperforming national economy, global political and economic uncertainty, and rising cost pressures, the city continued to perform strongly. We are managing our finances responsibly while ensuring that our resources are directed where they are most needed to deliver reliable services and long-term value to our communities. Speaker, I therefore recommend that in terms of Section 28 of the FMMA, Council adopts the amendments and propose it for incorporation into the 2025-2026 adjustment budget as contained in Annex A of this report. I thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mukungwana.
Thank you, Speaker. Allow me to first greet everybody that I have not met in this new year and wish them a happy new year, happy and prosperous new year. Speaker, I am like the mayor who is not prepared to repeat one and the same message and at the end sound like a damaged LP or CD. The most important aspect in terms of budget control is by following the money. I have been doing that, and for the past 4 years, I've been blowing a trumpet for the unspent monies, which I don't know whether they are noticed by the city's administration. Because I've noticed that the informal ranks have not been touched, yet there are monies that have been allocated to upgrade those informal ranks. This is a minor to those that are not affected, but it's a big issue to those that are affected by that particular service. I'm talking here about the informal taxi ranks in the Delft, Browns Farm, Philippi East and Samora Machel areas, where people are chewing day in, day out in rainy and sunny days in unprotected areas with no ablution facilities. And that to my caucus therefore indicates that we are failing to address the real needs of the people and we're focusing on the so-called big projects and forgetting the minor issues that are big in the people that are affected. Having said that, Speaker, I'm saying all what I'm saying because I noticed that we have been sitting in budgetary meetings as this council for the past 4 years. And this is our last adjustment budget cycle because some of us will not be coming back after November. So let me take this opportunity and say, I would like the city manager and the mayor to strongly follow up on the monies allocated to upgrade the informal taxi ranks. in the affected areas. And unfortunately, they are all in the Cape Flats. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Oliver from the UIM.
Hi, Madam Speaker. Am I audible?
Yes, you are, sir. You can continue.
Yeah. Firstly, Madam Speaker, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge all those from the phone industry that took a stand yesterday regarding the failure of the DTIC. Madam Speaker, going through the scorecard performance assessment, there is a lot in this report that is clear, but also evident that sending the army to the Cape Flats is not the answer. I want to say to National that maybe an appointment at the optometrist is what is needed to see clearly why National is still refusing to give our law enforcement the powers it deserves and what is needed. We see our SAPS struggling daily, and we see the void being filled by our Metro Police and law enforcement. We are seeing many successes by our law enforcement, Metro and traffic. We need to be honest with ourselves, and this report is evidence enough that devolving these powers to law enforcement is what will make the difference. Madam Speaker, in the report, it speaks of simple basic services that are being affected because of what is happening on the Cape Flats. In the past, it was load shedding, vandalism, even extortion. Now it is gang violence. Madam Speaker, our people on the Cape Flats also deserve the best services with excellence. And as the UIM, we say better services and less excuses. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Speaker. Okay, this suicidal budget has placed one of the heaviest financial burdens on Cape Town taxpayers in the almost 400-year history of this beautiful city. Today, we note adjustments to that budget which simply continue the daylight robbery of Cape Town taxpayers by a DA-run government that is intent on pursuing its ANC-like communist policies, regardless of the destruction it may cause to the entrepreneurs, working and middle classes which keep Cape Town's economy alive. When we look at the various areas of expenditure, we see that the DA continues to relentlessly pursue its population densification agenda and the expansion of informal settlements without any consideration for the impact this will have on our failing infrastructure, overflowing sewage pipes, mass influx of economic migrants, and as we discovered in their policy of open borders, to invite the whole of Africa to come and live on welfare in Cape Town. This policy called Opportunity Beyond Borders sees a budget like this being used to subsidize illegal immigrants to take advantage of hardworking and struggling Cape Town residents and taxpayers. Our generosity and goodwill is being used against us to fund an endless flow of people who seek better lives than what their own countries can provide, until eventually Cape Town will become exactly like the very countries those refugees flee from. This lavishly socialist and massive budget, in conjunction with the DA's pro-immigration policies, are the very reason that the economy is on its last legs and Cape Town residents can barely afford to pay rent or feed their families. Looking at the numbers in the budget, one can easily calculate that based on the rate of replacement of sewerage pipelines, it will take almost 90 years to upgrade our failing sewerage system necessary to maintain clean water and sanitation for Cape Town residents. It is clear to see then what the DA's priorities are when low-cost housing and densification projects are to be ready by the next election, whereas our water, sanitation,
Councillor.
and sewage is scheduled to be fixed in 90 years.
Thank you, Councillor Jacobson.
Thank you.
There is a well-known expression, do not throw good money after bad. It should read, do not throw good money after bad, especially if not your own money. Honourable Speaker, we are the custodians of the ratepayers' investment with us. They entrust us that we will invest correctly and perform. Loans, loans, and more loans. It is easy to borrow at 12% fixed when it is not your money. I call for a full independent investigation to all the loans that we have taken. Now, Honourable Speaker and fellow councillors, as we consider a proposed increase of 500 million for the water and sanitation portfolio on top of the significant 4.9 billion, let's see how that portfolio has performed before we, yes, throw good money after bad. In the Helderberg, as per the recent demonstrations, they're still seeing sewage spills on the Strand Beach, as well as in Hout Bay, Camps Bay, and even Llandudno beaches, not to mention the disaster at Millerton Lagoon and Sekhukhune. Let's be honest, we have a leaky sewage system, and so far we have not seen improvements. If you look at the city's inland quality report for the last period, there was an increase of 20% in contamination, and across the waterways in the mother city, it is reported to stand at 59% contamination. Before we give more money to that portfolio, the City of Cape Town has an obligation to explain whether our investment is showing fruits of our labour or not. We must pair this budget hike with robust, independent oversight, transparent tenders, external audits and anti-corruption measures. I urge Council to approve this adjustment only with these safeguards in place. Our residents deserve infrastructure, not more scandals. Thank you.
Councillor L. Jacobs, please, from the PA.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Cape Town is a city with one sky and two realities. In one of these realities, you'd find a Cape Townian who enjoys access to basic services, who doesn't think of crime as a daily occurrence, who doesn't fear for their life at every intersection. The Cape Townian who is able to get by through life without worrying about bills or their rent. The Cape Townian I've referred to is the ultra-wealthy Cape Townian. The billionaires, the property developers, the tourists, and those who donate to the Democratic Alliance. Another Cape Townian reality is this, the one we all know. The Cape Town where we have to worry about what happens at the intersection. The Cape Town where we have to fear for our child's life every time they leave the house. The Cape Town where our property rates, water and electricity bills rise faster than our salaries. The Cape Town where we have to sit for hours to get to and from work. The Cape Town where rent is choking us out. The Cape Town where the government has clearly forgotten about its residents. This is the Cape Town most Cape Townians know. Us, the residents, the teachers, the taxi drivers, the small shop owners, the students, the young professionals, the pensioners, and the families who are trying their best to get by each and every month. Madam Speaker, the city's actions have clearly proven that currently Cape Town exists for some of us and not for all of us. Madam Speaker, the City of Cape Town's own reports show that 25% of Cape Townians remain unemployed, that 1 in every 4 Cape Townians sit without work, that the murder rate sits well above the national average, and that Cape Townians are murdered at rates that are unknown to the rest of the country. And as per the city's own survey, 2 in 3 residents feel unsafe in the city. And finally, the city admits that the housing crisis will worsen in the future, that rent will continue to grow uncontrollably, and that housing units remain in the pipeline without being in the sightline. These stats show us that the city governs in an eternal state of double-mindedness. On the one side, it practices austerity, actively disinvests in the lives of ordinary Cape Townians, and has made Cape Town comparably unsafer. On the other side, it is run by the DA, a party that believes in freedom, fairness, opportunity, and diversity. I put it to the people of Cape Town that there is no freedom in a city where gangs govern streets and housing tenders. There is no fairness in a city where our elders are being pushed out of Buka, Salt River, Woodstock, and Sea Point by the city's rates. There is no opportunity in a city where 1 out of every 4 Cape Townians sits without work or the means to start a business. And there is no diversity in a city where its mayor has only 1 Black African person in his mayoral committee, despite the city being 45% Black African. This isn't about diversity of thought. This is about diversity of thought and not quotas, Madam Speaker. And I put it to you that this ultimately makes it possible to collapse the state of double-mindedness into a singular expression that is befitting its simplicity. English logic dictates that if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, and quacks like a duck, that it is a duck. Therefore, in contemporary South African political logic, if it walks like the National Party, talks like the National Party, and governs like the National Party, then it is probably the Democratic Alliance. Madam Speaker, it then begs the question, apart from our numerous complaints, what does the Cape Town we deserve actually look like? It should be a Cape Town that is safe, affordable, and without the housing crisis. We deserve a Cape Town where our streets know healing and forget about crime, where psychologists, social workers, and counselors flood our streets, where the hardworking men and women of SAPS and the Metro Police are truly free to collaborate with one another, where we can then collaborate to end GBV and eradicate gang violence in our city. We deserve a Cape Town that stands on the neck of gangsterism and crushes it by destroying the financial pipelines of gangsterism. This is a Cape Town where addicts are given rehab centers instead of becoming criminals. A Cape Town where gangsters forfeit their assets. Furthermore, we deserve a Cape Town with a fair rate system that acknowledges the rising cost of living. A water, electricity, and rate system where someone earning below 27,000 Rand will never pay more than 2,000 Rand a month for water, electricity, and rates. And at the same time, a family earning below 15,000 Rand will never pay more than 750 Rand a month for what I have just mentioned, including the current relief measures. It is a Cape Town where the My City bus is available everywhere and for everyone, all for the price of 200 Rand a week. And we deserve a city where creches are co-funded so that our young women, mothers, and young adults can find jobs instead of watching children. We deserve a city that invests in our young people to start businesses in tech, creative, and retail industries, and where our rent is predictable and affordable, and where we award good landlords who increase rent in line with inflation. We deserve a city where informal settlements are upgraded rapidly and where houses are built next to economic opportunities. A city where affordable housing prices are not market related, but income related. Where Airbnbs pay their fair share in taxes and where we can tax the Airbnbs to build houses. Madam Speaker, this is the tip of the iceberg, and I anticipate that the mayor will now tell us about how Cape Town is fine as is, how it is good for the tourists that he governs for, and how our hope of a better Cape Town is a pipe dream. I put it to us, the dreamers, that history is shaped by those of us willing to look past our now and into a glorious future. In the immortal words of Desmond Tutu, hope is being able to see that there is light despite the darkness, and that the future thus belongs to those of us who choose a future with light where none of us are left in the dark. A future where Cape Town is for all of us, not just for some of us, and that future will be possible under the Patriotic Alliance. I thank you.
Councillor Hyam.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this adjustment budget before Council today reflects a responsible and necessary refinement of the city's approved 2025-2026 budget. For community services and health, the adjustments before Council reflect practical decisions to align funding with project readiness, with approved grant allocations and an investment in the public facilities our communities use every day. A key feature of this adjustments budget is that funding has been shifted to support projects that are ready to proceed, while still keeping sensible financial safeguards in place. This means that projects can move ahead faster and communities can access services sooner rather than later. This is responsible financial management and supports improved service delivery on the ground. Madam Speaker, I want to focus specifically on the city's investment in community facilities and how this adjustments budget allows us to continue that important work. Community facilities are not nice to haves. They are essential to safe, healthy, and resilient communities. We know the realities our communities face. When young people have no safe places to go, no positive outlets, and no sense of purpose, the streets begin to fill that gap. That is why facilities like our swimming pools, our sports facilities, and our athletics tracks matter. For our young people in particular, they provide something positive that draws them away from the streets and towards opportunity. Over recent years, the city has made real progress in restoring and upgrading community facilities across Cape Town. In our public swimming pools program, continued investment has meant that 36 of our 37 city community pools opened for the summer season, compared to just 26 in the 2022-23 season. With this adjustments budget, the capital budget for swimming pools in this financial year will more than double, increasing from just under 12.5 million Rand to nearly 29.7 million Rand. Pools set to benefit from the additional funding include Belleville South, Delft, Langa, Lentegeur, Goodwood, and Manenberg, many of them in some of the most vulnerable communities of our city, and a clear demonstration of our commitment to our young people. We are also pleased to note that the Retreat indoor swimming pool opened last Friday after closing for a few weeks to complete essential repairs to the filter. Like our other regional swimming pools in Bluedown, Strand, and Long Street, these indoor swimming pools serve communities across the city throughout the year. We are also continuing to invest in sports and athletics facilities. On Tuesday, the Mayor and I had the pleasure of opening the Blue Downs Athletics facility, a 30 million rand investment in young athletes, recreational walkers, and our top talent. Upgrades included a full replacement of the tartan running track, refurbished grandstands and change rooms, and improved field facilities. At the same time, the city is close to completing upgrades at the Westleigh Athletics facility, expected to reopen towards the end of February, providing an important regional asset for young athletes and community programs in Atlantis and surrounding areas. Finally, Speaker, as the Mayor has already highlighted in his speech, construction is also expected to begin in February on the Strandfontein Pavilion redevelopment, revitalizing this well-used and much-visited coastal facility around the largest tidal pool in the Southern Hemisphere. Additional funding for this project is also allocated in this adjustments budget, and we are so excited about this project, which will create a wonderful, safer, more dignified public space for many that reflects local identity and pride. Alongside these capital projects, the adjustments budget also supports the day-to-day care of libraries, recreation centres, and community centres that residents rely on daily. Speaker, it is important to note that investment alone is not enough. These facilities represent a shared responsibility. We want to work with communities to ensure that they are well used, protected, and cared for, because when we protect our facilities, we protect opportunity and hope. In closing, this adjustments budget shows that the Community Services and Health is focused on delivery, caring for public facilities, working with communities, and spending public money responsibly. I therefore support the adoption of the 2025-2026 adjustments budget as it relates to Community Services and Health. I thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor E. Isaacs.
Good day all. Madam Speaker, today we gather to discuss the City of Cape Town's adjustment budget. A budget that fails to prioritize the lives of our youth on the Cape Flats is a budget that fails us all. Let's talk about safety. I am sure you are aware that between 19 and 25th January, 42 people were murdered in just 1 week on the Cape Flats, and we're still pouring millions into reactive policing with little to show for it. The LEAP program has spent billions, yet gang violence persists. But clearly residents will be sleeping better tonight, knowing that our budget has increased for safety and security. Madam Speaker, we need to address the root causes being poverty, unemployment, and equality. Policing alone won't solve this crisis. Our communities deserve safety, dignity, investment, and social infrastructure. Madam Speaker, as the NCC, we say stop managing crime for optics and start tackling it with strategy and empathy. It is clear that the fancy toys the Safety and Security Directorate uses are not the answer, so let's change the approach by enforcing programs and grassroots levels that will ensure prevention and assist in gang reduction. Our children deserve a future, not coffins. Our communities deserve better, not just excuses. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor C. Davids. Councillor Davids, you must unmute yourself. You're unmuted on the side.
Thank you, Speaker. Good morning, colleagues, officials. Before we look at the spreadsheets, let's talk about the lived experiences and what this budget is actually trying to conceal. The city is financially rich on paper, but administratively broken in reality and morally confused in its priorities. We have money in the bank, but our clinics is not built. We have rising tariffs, but falling service delivery. We have a growing safety budget, but a growing crime rate as well. We have communities like Atlantis being told that their public assets must be sold, while 180 million is being found for a wall along the N2. This is not a budget problem, Speaker. This is a governance failure.
Speaker, a major concern is the continued underspending on capital projects despite the availability of funding. We are told budgets are record-breaking, yet clinics remain incomplete, fire stations are delayed, housing developments are stalled, roads are unfinished, and community facilities are deteriorating. The reasons given are familiar, Speaker. Procurement appeals, poor contractor performance, weak project management, construction mafias, outstanding invoices, and internal capacity failures. Speaker, these are not isolated incidents. These are systemic failures. This undermines the intent of sections 19 and 21 of the MFMA, which require that once council approves a capital budget, it must translate it into timeous and tangible service delivery. Repeated rollovers and deferred projects show this administration is not suffering from bad luck, it is rather suffering from bad systems. Financial strength that cannot build houses or clinics is not strength, it's administrative paralysis. Speaker, at the same time, the city reports over recovery in electricity, property rates, fines, and other user-based revenue. This is being presented as financial success, but let's be honest, what it really means is that the residents were overcharged. It means tariffs were misaligned with real household incomes. It means enforcement was intensified while unemployment is rising. It means poor households carried a disproportionate burden. Financial surpluses achieved through overbilling cannot be viewed as success when they deepen inequality and hardship. Speaker, you cannot brag about a surplus while people are choosing between food and electricity. That is not fiscal discipline, that is regressive revenue extraction. Speaker, the deeper problem is not just over-recovery, it is the tariff-setting model itself. The city continues to approve above-inflation electricity, water and property rates increases, while fully aware that large segments of our population are unemployed, underemployed, or living on social grants. Then the same city acts surprised when debt levels explode. This is not credit control problem, Speaker. This is a policy failure. You cannot design tariffs that people objectively cannot afford and then criminalize them for falling behind. That violates the spirit of sections 95 and 96 of the MFMA, which requires municipalities to collect revenue fairly, equitably, and realistically. This tariff regime is not revenue protection. It is state-engineered indebtedness. Speaker, while communities are being told there is no money for services, the city is preparing to sell off public assets. I want to address the situation regarding Atlantis Tusong Center because it illustrates this governance failure clearly. The city has indicated that the property is subject to subdivision and rezoning process with the intention of excluding the existing Luberon ECD facility and regularizing its use. We are also told that the remainder of the property may be transferred to a suitable owner for social services pending engagement with national and provincial government with no timelines provided. Speaker, this raises serious governance concerns. The Tusong Center was established as a public service hub, not as a speculative asset awaiting third-party decisions. Speaker, a government that sells clinics, halls, and service centers while funding walls and surveillance toys has completely lost its moral compass. Speaker, we are also told that operating under expenditure reflects efficiency, but in reality it reflects non-delivery. Vacancies remain unfilled, maintenance is deferred, programs are slow-walked, service rollouts are delayed. So yes, the budget shows savings, but in communities those savings means no clinic staffs, no road repairs, no housing completions, no visible municipal presence. This creates a dangerous disconnect between financial performance and a lived reality. Speaker, I must also inform this council that there is also a serious transparency concern. One example of this is the reference to interest received and an allocation to donors. Who are these donors? What is the legal basis for allocating public interest earnings to them? Was this explicitly approved by council? Does it comply with grant conditions and MFMA rules? Public funds and interest earned on them must be managed transparently and lawfully. The absence of clarity here weakens oversight and creates compliance risk. This council cannot exercise its constitutional role if critical line items are left vague or unexplained. Speaker, I now also want to deal directly with the contradiction at the heart of this budget, safety and security. We are told that this is one of the largest safety budgets in the city's history. We are told more money is being poured into units and enforcement, and yet crime remains out of control. Gang violence remains entrenched in Cape Town. Cape Town still hosts some of the most dangerous precincts in South Africa. At the same time, the city is repeatedly going to national government to ask for devolution of powers. If the city cannot deliver safety outcomes despite billions being poured into local policing structures, then throwing more money at the same strategy is not bold leadership, Speaker. It is wasteful persistence. And now on top of that, we are told that 180 million must be found for a wall along the N2, a wall that does not stop crime, a wall that does not create jobs. Let's be honest, this wall is there to hide poverty from tourists coming from the airport. Speaker, when the government builds walls instead of building people, it has already surrendered to failure. You cannot simultaneously claim that we are investing massively in safety and we need national government to fix this for us. That is a strategic contradiction. It means residents are paying twice, once through the city safety budget and again through national taxes for outcomes that still do not materialize. This budget continues to divert massive resources into security theater while root causes like poverty, unemployment, spatial exclusion, and broken infrastructure are left structurally untouched. Speaker, while the adjustment budget meets the timeline requirements of the MFMA, it is reactive, not corrective. The same failures appear every year: underspending, procurement delays, vacancy savings, rolled over projects, widening service backlogs, rising household debt. Yet there is no serious intervention plan to fix the SEM's dysfunction, contract management failures, or internal capacity constraints. Speaker, the adjustment budget reflects a city that is financially strong on paper but failing to convert that position into equitable service delivery. Revenue over recovery is burdening residents. Tariff policy is pushing families into deeper debt. Capital underspending is delaying essential services. Speaker, safety spending is not delivering safety. Transparency gaps are weakening oversight. Without decisive intervention, this adjustment process will continue to record failure instead of correcting it. As the good party, we cannot support a budget that extracts more from struggling residents, designs tariffs that people cannot afford, delays infrastructure and housing, masks non-service delivery as savings, sells community assets like the Tusong Center but wants to build walls instead. So we reject this adjustment budget in its current form and we call for a governance reset, not financial window dressing, Speaker, because the city of Cape Town does not need better spreadsheets. It needs better delivery, better accountability, and better justice for its residents.
Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker.
Councillor Arnold.
Thank you, Speaker. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Let me greet the Mayor and the Mayoral Committee members, fellow councillors, and the residents of the City of Cape Town. Speaker, the mid-year adjustment budget and performance assessment is a legislative requirement in terms of Section 54 and Section 72 of the Municipal Finance Management Act. As the economic freedom fighters, we do not support the 2025-2026 mid-year budget and performance assessment for the following reasons. The mid-year corporate scorecard on delivering of basic services is of great concern and highlight some of the failed targets, non-achievements, and empty promises. The DA in the City of Cape Town failed to achieve on its very low service delivery target of providing 283 taps in informal settlements instead of the low 300 target. The report further exposes the DA's fake land release plan and failed target of 0 hectares of land acquired for human settlements. Excuses of lack of valuation capacity is unacceptable. It is clear that the DA government don't want to break with its colonial urban design and apartheid era zoning. Cape Town faces a sanitation crisis. Raw sewage run throughout informal settlements. Toilets overflow in Gugulethu. Khayelitsha aging pipeline collapse under strain, and in your mid-year corporate scorecard report, you failed in your target on sewer pipe replacement of 40,000 meters by only replacing 33,989 meters of sewer pipelines. You must prioritize sanitation where dignity is denied, not where beaches must be clean. The DA, who is running the City of Cape Town for more than 18 years, failed to resolve the housing crisis. Why is there no social housing in Sea Point? The target for human settlement top structures of 750 only delivered 651. Speaker, Section 26, subsection 1 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa states that everyone has the right to have access to adequate housing. This means that the state has the responsibility to ensure that everyone has a place to live that is safe, secure, and meet the basic living standards. People are dying waiting for houses. Most of the housing projects are not new, but for many years on the budget rolled over or delayed. This is one of the reasons why the Economic Freedom Fighters rejects the 2025-26 mid-year budget and performance assessment for delays and failure to deliver dignified spaces and quality social houses. The DA must place the poor and the working class at the center of capital planning, not on the outskirts or at the bottom of funding tables. We are sitting with a healthy bank balance with bad service delivery in poor communities. Apartheid under the DA lives on, not by law, but by land use and budget choices. We must humble the DA in this coming local government elections because they have become too arrogant.
Councillor Tuhida.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Continue.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, an adjustment budget in terms of Section 28 of the Municipal Finance Management Act 56 of 23 allows municipalities to revise an approved annual budget to reflect updated financial realities such as unforeseen expenditure, mid-year revenue adjustments, or shift in funding. Only the mayor may table adjustment budget to council. But Madam Speaker and the Mayor, the issue that I wanted to raise on behalf of the ANC, that the ANC rejected the adjustment budget for 2025-2026, specifically because all the litany of literature that is accompanying the proposed adjustment budget does not speak to the municipality in all departments achieving or not achieving the set targets that were put. And Madam Speaker, that an adjustment budget is crucial for maintaining financial health, preventing unauthorized expenditure, and ensuring that the budget reflects a current realistic economic environment and service delivery. The African National Congress, Madam Speaker, is calling for the City of Cape Town to open up the Municipal Public Accounts Committee, MPAC, to the public so that the public can see whether there is prevention of unauthorized expenditure in the City of Cape Town. The Mayor of Cape Town is always at pains in his attempt to convincing himself of some abstract investment in hope. This adjustment budget, Madam Speaker, does not tell Cape Towners what targets were not met by all departments in the period under review, as well as the rollovers that may have occurred in the period that may have occurred in many or any of the departments, specifically looking at things such as the Urban Development Settlement Development Grant, USDG, that has been rolled over. But Mr. Mayor, if your budget is truly invested in hope, could it also give hope to those Cape Townians whose homes are submerged in raw sewage as we speak right now in Makaza? For someone who's been hopelessly languishing on the Cape Town ever-growing housing waiting list for the last 20 years of the DA rule in the City of Cape Town, could it also, the investment in hope, Mr. Mayor, respond to a mother in Tsepe, Danun and Maspumelele, whose children have not attended school yet since the beginning of the year, owing to the many shack fires that have ravaged this city? Whilst on the one hand, this very city is preparing to auction more than 50 or about 50 pieces of land in well-located spaces. And really, as the ANC, Mr. Mayor, we would one day love to see that the mayor show us sub-council by sub-council, word by word, and in plain language. No graphics, but in plain language. How has your annual budget and subsequent adjustment budgets, including today's one, Mr. Mayor, going to break the barriers to development and the forceful reversal of the legacies of apartheid spatial planning? Instead of maintaining the unsustainable tale of two cities, with one Cape Town for the rich and already having functioning infrastructure, and the other Cape Town for the poorer of the poor with collapsed infrastructure. And Mr. Mayor, I want to make this point that
this issue about your emphasis this morning about wanting to build the wall or against all odds, regardless of whatever I said, does it also mean that the mayor has no regard at all for public participation, asking the affected people? I concur with other colleagues from other parties that this is only a way of hiding away poverty.
Thank you. Conclude, Councillor Badela. Councillor Badela, are you there?
Madam Speaker?
Yes, we can hear you. Continue.
Okay. Good morning, Madam Speaker. This morning we are requested to consider and approve a budget adjustment that looks impressive on paper as policy framework it allows. The mid-year term budget and performance assessment reports are to be noted and submitted to the Council in terms of Section 54 and 72 of the FMMA. We are told that the budget has no detrimental impact on service delivery, and yet in our communities, people are living with a burst pipe, collapsing roads, raw sewage, unsafety electrical connection, and overcrowded informal settlement. Speaker, the biggest red flag in this report is the scale of rollovers and rephrasing. Every year we are told that projects are delayed. Procurement is still in the process. Design are not finalized. Land issues are unresolved. And every year the money is simply pushed into a next financial year. This is not a prudence financial management. This is a systematical failure to implement project and development. Rollovers mean one thing: communities wait longer for toilets, roads, housing, and safety and security. This report presents budget that performance outcomes stemming from the mid-year performance assessment and recommend that 2025 adjustment budget providing the FMA there are repercussions when the national and provincial government is not spent, and they are supposed to, based on allocation and previous performance on the particular city or municipality. These rollovers or negative variant, some are not approved and they have a negative bearing going forward. The grant gets reduced due to the lack of seriousness on spending, e.g. CGD, PTNG, and IRT. Fair collection on the project must just mention few. The national and provincial have approved this negative variant like stormwater. This non-spending tendency is quite worrisome, Madam Speaker. Delft Main Road funds are not used, and this project has come a long way. Mfuleni taxi rank is still yet to commence. They've been sent from pillar to post, but the budget was set aside a few years back. The directorate needs to focus more on congestion relief places like Erika Drive and more routes that were identified a long time ago. There is a phase 1 IRT which is incomplete, like the bus rebuilding, but a lot of money has been sent back or repurposed, but not to this critical project. Phase 2A is reduced by 134 million on Oreo funding 2026-27 due to internal squabbles. Phase 2A IRT 165 million budget is not approved by national as well. I've got 5 minutes, Madam Speaker.
Not here, you haven't.
5 minutes. I've sent a message to the Chief Whip, both Councillor Cotti and Councillor Badela.
Okay, I have not been informed, but all right, you carry on for another 2 minutes and we'll catch up here if, of course, that should have been done yesterday, but okay, carry on, Councillor Badela.
Okay, thanks very much, Madam Speaker. This means that we must expect a huge reduction in the forthcoming years. Urban mobility road project are delayed, property acquisition is not done on time, stormwater upgrading postponed, feasibility studies take too long. Madam Speaker, human settlement also is not doing justice, as they are not spending grants that they are received from the national and provincial government. Most painful failure remains human settlement. Year after year, housing projects are delayed, beneficiary lists are incomplete, land remains unused, informal settlement continue to grow rapidly. The grant was increased by 401 million national grant up and settlement USDG, 55.7.5 million unspent, and unspent 19.5, 25, 26 conditionally reallocated. In Sub-Council 13, ERF 2849, there is more money that is not been spent by the contractor, and some houses were supposed to be completed. They are partially, and the contract is coming to an end at the end of March. In conclusion, some of the concern the ANC has is that the senior management are not held accountable. No performance contract are questioned, and lastly, no political responsibility is taken by the leadership. The ANC is giving the strong warning that the DA must stop this inclination of poor planning and hide behind the legislation framework or system of municipality at your disposal. We hope that this money will not grow legs and get into your coffers as used for electioning. We know this budget with consent and not supporting. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, and apologies for interrupting you. Okay, Alderman JP Smith.
Speaker, am I audible?
Audible.
Thank you, ma'am. I greet you, Speaker, councillors, members of the public watching online. First, allow me just to point out to Councillor Miller that the city undertakes immigration enforcement actions weekly with the BMA, making many arrests of people that are deported for not being in SA legally. And to Councillor Isaacs, the city has a raft of whole of society interventions run by various departments and across the board. They will be saying more about that soon. And to Councillor Chad Davids, technology is not toys when you happen not to understand the use. It's Cape Town ensuring that we bring the best available policing tools to the most vulnerable communities. If they were not there, you'd be campaigning about their absence. Violent crime will not yield until convictions are driven up, and this cannot happen in current way the criminal justice system is configured. Speaker, allow me to applaud the vision and trust of those councillors who supported the budget last year to invest in additional boots on the ground and to compensate where SAPS is receding. Yesterday, I again went out with the NSOs on one of the wards and got to see the results of those officers in action, 2 arrests in the space of an hour. It's difficult to imagine how we've managed to cope previously without these NSOs, but it also shows you just how much they were needed. Yesterday, one could see the NSOs are already well integrated with the existing community safety structures and are receiving non-stop tip-offs and crime intel. Between September and November 2025, these officers arrested 115 suspects for drug-related crimes and confiscated over 1,000 units of drugs. Their total arrest in that period was over 200, and they also started to take more guns off the street, including one yesterday in Bellville South. Speaker, our CapEx budget is proposed to increase by 23.4%. This increase is part due to the additional funding to further enable the NSO deployment per ward and includes office and IT equipment needs for them and their volunteer bases. There are also additional vehicles on the budget for the NSOs as well as for the policing escort services to support other departments. As the Mayor pointed out, our budget is also allocated to the Joint Services Operations Centre, or JSOC, which will allow us to establish a dedicated and purpose-built control room for our policing and emergency services, the first time we've had this opportunity in 25 years of the existence of the Unicity. This will include the major evolution of the Real-Time Crime Centre, which will significantly change how we respond to crime. City enforcement made close to 1,400 arrests in January alone, and we can be even more effective with a fully functional operational centre. We have tripled the arrests in law enforcement over the last 4 years and will continue to build on this. Budget is also being provided to accelerate the new Wynberg Municipal Court and the safety and security of facilities attached thereto. Fire and rescue services show that over the fire season from 2024-25 compared to the same period recently, the fire and rescue incidents increased again. Vegetation fires are up by 300 and informal and formal residential fires also increased. There is therefore a need to continue investing in vehicles and facilities, and this includes the Fire and Rescue Services Command Bus to serve as a forward command post in major fires. Budget is proposed for specialized vehicles and specialized facilities for various law enforcement depots as well. And there are also some once-off budget allocations for safety and security, including funding for the repairs of service animal facilities and 2.4 million to undertake a comprehensive citywide disaster risk assessment mandated to be updated every 5 years, which includes addressing climate and weather-related disasters affecting informal backyard structures. Also, the 10.9 million performance incentive reward allocated to safety and security based on our sustained improved income, which the ED has allocated to overtime and a study to undertake the mapping of safety and security infrastructure to improve efficiencies. Many councillors here may recall, Speaker, that until recently we would every year see media coverage about a list of the most violent cities in the world published by an international institute to compare crime rates to identify the 20 most violent cities. Cape Town would annually find itself at number 7 or 9 on that list, a bad place to be. In 2023, Cape Town dropped off the top 10, leaving 2 other South African cities, Nelson Mandela Bay at number 2 and eThekwini at number 9. Nelson Mandela Bay was back at the number 2 spot in 2024. With this in mind, I could not help but take a small degree of comfort from a report published in recent weeks with data collected by the World Population Review and Numbeo, which compared numerous crime data sets and sources, not just limited to homicide, to compose a list of most violent cities. That list was published up to number 15, and 5 South African cities feature on it: Pietermaritzburg, Pretoria, Johannesburg, Durban, and Port Elizabeth. If you dig a little deeper, you'll find Cape Town at number 16. While the crime index of Cape Town may be lower than several other cities in the country, it's still unacceptably high. And while the city cannot compensate for the decline in policing under national government, we are doing everything we can to deploy more resources, grant more powers to achieve effective policing, and take more guns off the street and build safer communities. That can only happen with more city resources and powers unless SAPS is urgently improved. It's good, however, to see our efforts validated by independent international research. Sometime during 2008 and 2009, I went to go make a submission to the proposed amendments to the SAPS Amendment Act, which at that stage proposed putting Metro Police under SAPS, and I proposed the reverse and was met with aggressive opposition and derision. Today, the debate has pivoted, with national government contemplating whether it should devolve the control of SAPS to provinces and cities, and the City of Cape Town is poised to intensify its fight for more policing powers, a fight we undertake on behalf of our residents. Imagine what more we can achieve for the people of our city and how much we can improve their lives and safety with investigative and crime information powers to keep gunmen off the streets. Remove the 20 to 40% of the murders caused by firearm-related gangsters and their violence, and Cape Town disappears from any international list of most violent cities. Achieve safer streets for those held hostage by gangs, and takes a big step closer to being the city of hope and opportunity where all aspire for it to be. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor Cotti.
Speaker, good morning. Am I audible? Speaker?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Carry on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning,
Thank you.
Speaker, councillors, members of the public, compliments of the season to all. On this item of adjustment budget, I must note that the City of Cape Town follows the Municipal Finance Management Act, MFMA, of Section 28, Municipal Budget Reporting Regulation of 2009, to regulate adjustment budgets. These budgets manage to ensure financial sustainability, allow for mid-year adjustments, rollovers of unspent money, authorize unforeseen expenditure, requires council for approval and publication within 10 days. Speaker, the ANC welcomes the adjustment budget with concerns, but the adjustment budget must also be read in consultation with the Circular 88. Speaker, on page 15 of the adjustment budget, talks about debt impairment of almost 250 million unspent, meaning that the value of the assets of the unaccountability of the debt. The National Treasury reporting of the municipal regulation of standard charge accounts requires that municipalities disclose debt of impairment as well as irrecoverable debt written off within a statement. Therefore, almost 250 million was unspent, written off, and also irrecoverable was 253.2 million. This is what you call a well-run city. Speaker, in terms of the scorecard page, SDVIP scorecards on page 38, as already alluded, the reticulation pipe replacement program targeted for the second quarter of 2025-2026 target was 40,000. The city only is able to do 33,989 meters achieved. And I don't even want to talk about the Zaftake Masimola Drive sewer collapse, and that has been an issue that we have been saying to the city all these years, a pipe replacement with the mayor always brag about. Service request for non-collection of refuse. Second quarter target was 99%. City only achieved 65%. New electricity connections. Second quarter target was 95%. The city only achieved 75%. Human settlements top structures, second quarter target was 750, city only achieved 651. And that is after in the previous year, the same period, the target was 350, which the city achieved 1,372. And it seems that the city, in the city Cape Town, particular on human settlements, Councillor Poppen, we are going downhill. On page 47, hectares for land acquired, second quarter target was 19, achieved 0, zilts, as Councillor Sotasi always says, zilts. But while the city is selling prime properties to foreign investors for public elections fund purposes. But let us see what the ANC government nationally is allocating to the city of Cape Town in terms of grants. As already indicated by the mayor, 401 million allocation, urban development finance grant, metro trading services reform, urban settlements USDG grant, 57.7 million. But let me say to you, Speaker, of this 57.7 million, 19.5 million was allocated for unspending during the 24-25 financial year. Again, municipal disaster relief grant for 950,000, again unspent of the previous financial year. Library services, 265,000, again unspent because of the previous financial year. Informal settlements grant, I'm glad to see that the national government is giving the city 30 million rand for informal settlements grant, but we don't see about of which 26.6 million rand was unspent during the previous financial year. And this is what we call the well-run best city in the world. And that is how they spend the ANC government grants from national government. Speaker, on operating budget, a decrease, we see a decrease in water and sanitation. That's on, you will find that on page 172, decrease of 142 million rand. City Health, a decrease of 22 million rand, while the Khayelitsha residents are still waiting for the refurbishment of Matthew Ganube Clinic in Ward 96 and the construction and building of a clinic in Ward 94, Sakele Clinic. Speaker and the Mayor, it is very sad also to mention that 2 days ago, a Bela resident unfortunately passed on.
Conclude.
I've got 5 minutes.
You've
Oh,
had
sorry.
5. Thank you.
Oh.
It's all right. Mr. Mayor, you may wrap up.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. There's just a couple of contradictory comments that I want to just touch on here. You know, there's a inherent contradiction in the positions of both Councillor Jacobson and Councillor Miller. They increasingly find themselves closer and closer together politically. But they both say not enough is being done about a whole range of infrastructure problems that they list. And at the same time, too much money is being spent on these things. So they would like us to both cut the budget so as to reduce expenditure and tariffs, but also spend more on fixing these infrastructure things. Now that's just a logical impossibility. That is their kind of voodoo maths. The bottom line is, if you want to do more, you have to have a way of funding it. And we only have a few sources of funding. We get some national government grants, we raise income from the residents of the city of Cape Town, and we borrow a little to invest long term. Councillor Jacobson keeps coming back to this point about our borrowings. The fact is that we borrow extremely responsibly. We have the lowest debt of any city in South Africa by a long way, and we borrow at very favorable terms. Usually, we get much more favorable terms than you and I would even get buying a house on the open market in using a bond. So I think they should really just go and reconsider their maths and think about the points that they're making and whether they make logical sense, because I think they'll find that they do not. The truth is, we would love to spend much more on infrastructure. We already outspend every other city. We outspend most other cities combined, in fact. But of course, I agree that there is much more to do. We would love to replace 1,000 kilometers of pipeline a year. We would love to fix all of the and upgrade all of the wastewater treatment works at once, and so much more besides. But that is billions and billions of rands in additional expenditure. So you say that we must not borrow, we must not go to the public to ask to fund these things. We're not getting those enormous additional grants. So your position is untenable. It's illogical, and I just want to point that out. I congratulate Councillor Jacobs on the other Councillor Jacobs from the PA on his maiden speech here, and just want to point out a couple of things. On every single one of the measures that he listed, the city of Cape Town is way ahead of any other city in the country. In fact, ahead of most other municipalities. There's a couple of local government municipalities, all DA run, that do even better, but none of the metros on every basic service delivery measure. If you compare that to the parties where he is in government, the party where the city where he came from, and that was before he was the MACO member for another city before he was moved here. He really is moving around the country. But if you compare the city where he himself was actually personally in government, that city is a picture of ruin and disaster and destruction. That party and their coalition partners, the PA, the ANC, the EFF, and so on, have brought that city to the brink of complete collapse. Now there's a presidential committee designed to try to turn it around. We have very little hope that that presidential committee will make any meaningful difference. The only meaningful difference that will be made to turning that city around, where he was very recently until he was moved twice, the only prospect of turning it around is actually ejecting that coalition, the PA, the ANC, the EFF, from government and getting a DA-led government coalition in there, or hopefully even a DA majority government in there. If we look at the other, much closer to home, the other place where his party is in government is, of course, in Knysna, another town absolutely at the brink of collapse, or perhaps even already over the brink of collapse. Completely financially dysfunctional in terms of infrastructure, and another town run in coalition with the PA. He hasn't yet been appointed the mayoral candidate for Knysna, but there's still time in this year, and he may well still be appointed as the mayoral candidate for Knysna. At least it's perhaps a town that he will know a little bit more about, given that his party is already in government there. But if that is the hope, he speaks with much grandiosity about the hope that he offers to Cape Town. But if the hope that he offers to Cape Town is what he has personally already done in Johannesburg, and what his party, not him personally, but what his party has already done in places like Knysna, well, then I think I know what Cape Townians will say to that offer. They will send him packing, because Cape Townians do not want our city to be like Joburg or like Knysna. We want to carry on making progress in dealing with the issues that we have, building a city of true hope, where more and more people are getting jobs, where more and more businesses are investing and growing, where more and more people are flooding away from cities like the ones that he governs, because they know that this is a place that functions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillors, the recommendation for item 5, we're going to vote on them separately. The recommendation appears on page 1. Are we all in favor of the recommendation? Thank you. Thank you. Are we those against? Goodies against? EFF is against. ANC is against. Al-Jamaa is against. Others against. CCC is against. PA is against, and some are confused. Okay, thank you. So I just now, before we take the vote on item 6, want to update the councillors on in relation to the number of councillors present. We now have 210 councillors present. So for the ANC, that's gone up to 37, and the DA has gone up to 123. So those will be the figures taken in terms of the votes for and against. We move on to the recommendations for item 6, and that recommendation is on page 158. We require a majority for this. All in favor of the recommendation? Aye. Thank you. Those against? Thank you. Goodies against. Al Jamar's against. ANC is against. EFF's against. Councillors, the whips will indicate. Others against. Okay. All right. Then the recommendation is carried, and we move on to item 7. The first speaker for item 7 is Councillor Goliath from the NCC. Sometimes I'm not sure if they're NCC or CCC, but whatever. Councillor.
Am I audible, Speaker?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Carry on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Speaker. Speaker, the item and the report in front of me, it's a brilliant report, and obviously one can be proud of it, but it is not the same thing as a just outcome. Financial compliance tells us money was spent correctly. It does not tell us whether it was spent fairly. Transport investment prioritized toward efficiency over targeted excess. The poor remains the last in line, Madam Speaker. When infrastructure expands but fares remains unaffordable, mobility becomes a privilege and not a right. And when performance is measured in rands and routes rather than the reduced travel time for the poorest households, inequality, Madam Speaker, is quietly reinforced. A true poor transport fund must answer one question honestly. Are low-income commuters paying less, traveling faster, and or reaching more opportunities than before? Until our reporting measures social impact with the same vigor as financial compliance, we risk governing efficiency, but unjustly so. Clean books alone cannot move people out of poverty. Intentional targeted transport policies can. This must be our standards, Madam Speaker. And I want to ask, hoe sien julle dan vir ons as julle dink ons kan nie kry wat ander mense kry nie? Thank you so much, Speaker.
Councillor Kelly. Councillor Kelly, you need to unmute yourself. All right. Can we assume then that Councillor Kelly cannot unmute himself and he's not next to a colleague who has a computer? Going once, twice, 3 times. Councillor Mikhail Manuel.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Am I audible?
You may continue.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, in response to Councillor Goliath, the total value of this fund is 27 million rand. The things that he is mentioning is tangentially relevant, and this particular report is about just it being audited. And if Councillor Goliath looks at all of the other My City projects, the Rail Devolution project, the minibus taxi revitalization projects, etc., then we as the DA are pursuing exactly those things of more affordable public transport that makes the city more accessible. This report, Madam Speaker, is very straightforward. It speaks for itself, and so I am happy to move the item.
We have a recommendation on page 630. Those in favor of the recommendation? Thank you. Those against the recommendation? Goodies against? EFF's against? Eljamar's against? PA's against? All right, the recommendation is carried. We move on to the next item, which is item 9, and the first speaker there is Councillor Bowden.
Am I audible, Speaker?
Yes, you are. You may continue.
Thank you. Honourable Speaker, I'd like to commend the Mako member, Councillor Quintus, on this initiative. Cape Exit is always a supporter of decentralisation, and we support this move. However, Speaker, we must place serious concerns on record. As Councillor Miller has previously stated in this chamber, the city continues to rely on inefficient fixed-time control traffic signal systems. These lights do not properly measure real-time traffic flow, they worsen congestion, and they actively contribute to chaos on our roads. So my first request to the city is simple and direct. Can the city guarantee that going forward, it will no longer deploy fixed-time traffic lights, and that modern adaptive signal control using smart tech or actuated control using AI will be used that respond to actual traffic conditions? However, Speaker, congestion is not the only consequence of this outdated technology. Many of the intersections and roadways are now crime hotspots. Over the last few years, people have been attacked and murdered whilst stopped at traffic lights, including tourists. After the murder of Corin van Aert, the Cape Independence Party wrote formally to the mayor requesting details on what measures the city would implement to address the out-of-control crime on these routes. The letter has received no response. So today we make it clear, now that the city is taking over responsibility from SANRAL, the buck can no longer be passed on. Madam Speaker, we expect a response to that letter, particularly regarding the R300, Jakes Cowell Drive, and related interchanges, which have been identified as especially dangerous routes. And considering that the city is now assuming responsibility for these traffic lights, the question is unavoidable. Can we finally expect concrete measures to address the criminal attacks that occur at these intersections and routes? Lastly, Speaker, infrastructure responsibility must come with safety responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Eugen?
Good afternoon, Speaker. Am I audible?
Yes, you may proceed.
Thank you. The Freedom Front Plus fully welcomes and supports the construction, maintenance, and operation of traffic signals by the City of Cape Town for traffic signals that belong to SANRAL. The report clearly highlights that all three spheres of government share the responsibility for the construction, maintenance, and operation of our roads. It is very concerning that the report highlights that SANRAL does not possess the necessary staff, facilities, or contractual mechanisms to provide immediate and continuous traffic signal maintenance and operational management. Given that SANRAL falls under national government and was allocated over 100 billion rand for the 2025-2026 financial year, one would reasonably expect that such a substantial budget would enable the agency to perform effectively in all of its duties. Maintaining traffic signals, which, relatively speaking, forms a very small component of the overall responsibilities of SANRAL, should have been well within the capabilities to perform. These findings raise serious doubts about SANRAL's capacity to manage and protect our national highways, especially given the recent increase in attacks on our motorists. If SANRAL struggles with this relatively minor aspect of its responsibilities, it calls into question of their ability to effectively oversee the far more significant task of safeguarding and maintaining our highways. In conclusion, the Freedom Front Plus remains hopeful that the implementation of this agreement between SANRAL and the City of Cape Town will mark the light of a new dawn for improved relations after months long of arguing over who's responsible for our highways. We are also hopeful that this agreement will enable the city to involve SANRAL in the process for the proposed 180 million rand wall along the N2 highway, of which SANRAL stated in their press release that the City of Cape Town never consulted them about. And I thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hager, again, please.
Am I audible, Speaker?
Yes, continue.
Thank you very much. Speaker, this item asks us to ask Council to do three things, three very specific and practical things, and that is to approve an implementation protocol agreement with SANRAL. Second, to authorize the Executive Director for Urban Mobility to sign the agreement, and third, to confirm that SANRAL will pay the full cost of building, maintaining, and operating the signal on its on the City of Cape Town's roads. On paper, this may sound merely procedural, but in reality, it is about something far more important. It is ensuring that Cape Town keeps moving safely, efficiently, and predictably, regardless of which sphere of government owns the roads beneath our tires. Speaker, this is important because when residents woke up this morning, they did not ask themselves whether the traffic lights belong to the City of Cape Town or SANRAL. They merely ask one simple question: does the traffic light work? When traffic signals fail on the N1, on the N2 or R300, the consequences are immediate and are real. Congestion spills over on municipal roads, emergency vehicles are delayed, workers arrive late, public transport is disrupted, and the frustration goes often at the city, even when the infrastructure is not ours. The city is already having systems and the skills and the depots and the monitoring technology in place and operational experience to respond quickly to traffic signals. SANRAL, by its own admission, does not have the immediate operational capacity within the City of Cape Town. This agreement simply formalizes what already works and extends it to 36 months so that service delivery is not left to chance. It introduces certainty, and where there is temporary, it introduces certainty, and where there was temporary arrangement, accountability where there was informality, and establish instability where residents need reliability. It ensures traffic management is planned, proactive, and properly funded, not reactive or left to chance. It gives municipality executive authority over municipal roads, but overall, national roads as well as N1, N2, and R300. It is important to say this plainly. This agreement does not blur the constitutional lines as in the respect of Section 156. What it does is allow the city to lawfully and transparently extend its operational capabilities in the interest of all residents. The city does this not to overreach. This is not a mission creep. This is cooperative government working exactly as the Constitution intended it to work. When government works together, it is the people who benefit first, not the institutions, not the department, not politics. Speaker, service delivery does not stop at jurisdictional boundaries, neither should solutions. Residents judge us by outcomes, not by organizational chart. Approving these items means fewer broken traffic lights, smoother traffic flow, safer intersections, and more reliable road network at no cost to the City of Cape Town. It is practical, it is lawful, and it is financially sound. While some political parties continue to drive the N2 as their main campaign tactic, the city enforcement is diligently assisting.
Conclude. Thank you.
Okay,
Councillors, we have give you the recommendation. Thank you. We have a recommendation on page 656. Thank you. The recommendation is carried. Those against are the PA good supports. No conditions. Thank you. CMC supports, ACDP support, URM support, Al-Jamar support. Thank you very much. The recommendation is carried. We move on to item 10. And the first speaker there is Councillor Jantje van Vieren. And I think this is Councillor Ugan's computer we have to open. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Am I audible?
You are, sir. Carry on.
Good morning, Speaker and fellow councillors. The way the City of Cape Town is handling informal trading base in Cape Town is unfortunately a two-way street. It is fantastic that we create spaces for our people to trade and enable them to making a living that way. This bylaw is speaking to the enforcement of stricter measures across Cape Town, which the VF Plus is very appreciative of. Unfortunately, the illegal traders in front of the Potsdam sewage works remain illegal and without a permit, with the site owner not there most of the time. They are now manufacturing on the pavement and the operation is much bigger, with them dumping leftover materials right next to the entrance to the Potsdam offices, where our water and sanitation officials passes every single day. What happened to taking ownership? It is interesting that no one is prepared to address this. This legal operation has been continuing for over 6 years, notwithstanding the fact that I reported it numerous times to the authorities. It seems bylaws are for some, while others get away with ignoring and breaking our laws. Isn't our city a caring city for all? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Lylecock.
Speaker, thank you. I'm not sure what item the previous speaker was speaking to, but this is a technical issue required to amend the trading plan to the Masiphumeleli informal trading site, which became necessary after the development of the site found underground infrastructure. So it's a technical issue. But Speaker, this is a new informal trading site. Is it another example of a city that works and a government that gets things done? Cape Town is a city that provides a light to the rest of the country, where local government is drowning in the failures of the corrupt cadres and their vile fascist comrades who are driving Ferraris and wearing Gucci suits and Breitling watches. Comrades who purport to love the poor, but their hearts are filled with envy and greed. In contrast, in the city of Cape Town, this site is going to provide opportunity, dignity, safety, and jobs. That's what the site is bringing to the informal traders in the valley, providing real value and building a prosperous future in the city. And I move the item.
Thank you. We have a recommendation on page 698. Those in favour of the recommendation, thank you. Those against the recommendation? Thank you. Good supports, Cape Exit supports. ACDP support, PA support, CCC support, CMC, Al-Jamar. All right, so it looks like it's unanimous. Then we move on to the next item, item 13. The first speaker on this item is Councillor Deniso. We notice the abstention of the EFF. Thank you. Councillor Deniso, you unmuted on our side, so can you just unmute yourself?
Am I audible, Madam Speaker?
Yes, you are audible. Carry on.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, item C13, awarding of contract which will incur financial obligation beyond the budget cycle, supply support, maintenance of vulnerable management, cyber security, assessment and services. Decade of finally realized that smart cities, including maintenance of vulnerable management, cyber security assessment and services, will provide services to connect custom as ongoing support and maintenance of essential ICT services, including data loss prevention, cloud access service broker, security assessment services. As the ANC, we hope this contract
is not just about installing digital interfaces in traditional infrastructure or streamlining city operation. We also hope this conduct is about using technology and data to make better decisions and enhance service delivery to the residents of City of Cape Town. As the ANC, we support the recommendations.
Thank you. Councillor Adonis.
Good day, Speaker.
Yes, I can hear you. Continue.
Seeing that my colleague has supported this item, I move this item, Speaker.
Thank you. The recommendations on page 39. Can we all support the recommendation? Okay, thank you. Those against? All right, the recommendation is carried. We move then on to, I've got 14 as agreed. So we move on to item 23 on my list. Okay, so we get to item 23 and the first speaker there is Councillor Minnar. Councillor Minnar available? Yes, you're unmuted, so unmute your side.
Am I audible, Speaker?
Yes, you are. Carry on.
Okay. Speaker, the NCC needs to be very clear today. Land is not just property, land is dignity. And when this city sells land that is zoned for residential use, while thousands of families are still waiting for homes, that is not development. That is dispossession again. Also, mense wag al jare, families word gemushroom en generations of suffering onder een dak. Maar grond, goed geleë grond, word verkoop vir developments wat ons mense nooit sal kan afford nie. Speaker, hoe verduidelik 'n mens dit vir 'n ma van Happy Valley? Wat al 20 jaar op 'n database wag, terwyl grond rondom aan leeg staan of verkoop word vir wins. The NCC says this plainly. Until the city has exhausted every resource for historic redress and housing, no land should be sold. Not while housing money is sent back unused. Not while communities are still excluded from well-located areas. Waarom is grond nie goed genoeg vir ons mense nie, maar goed genoeg vir private profit? The NCC believes land should be used for quality public housing, skills development, two-song centers, family community upliftment, because housing is not a favor. Housing should be treated as a human right, not limited by austerity measures. This DA-led city, wat so grond verkoop, terwyl sy mense wag, verkoop nie byt, sy verkoop sy siel. The NCC stands with the people of Cape Town and the Cape Flats at large, and we will not be silent while the dignity is put on auction. And therefore, the NCC is not in support of this item, because who's sien julle dan vir ons? And I thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Interpreter, is there anything that was not repeated in English in that Afrikaans version?
Why so much?
So we covered. Thank you very much. The next speaker is Councillor Marie.
Madam Speaker, Executive Mayor, fellow councillors. Today we have before us item C23 on page 598 of our agenda to seek in principle approval from Council for the transfer of city-owned vacant and undeveloped properties by the way of public competitive process. Urban 2674, 2675 and 2676 located in Gailey, Blackheath. This is for residential purpose, turning vacant land into opportunities. With this, we are not only selling land, but creating the foundation for new homes. Gailey is a low to middle priced residential suburb, surrounded by similar suburbs as Denemeer and Kleinvlei to the south, and the industrial suburb of Blackheath to the north. This is a sought-after area as it's close to schools, shopping malls, roads leading to the N1 and N2, as well as the Blackheath railway station. also close to the industrial area, which bring people closer to the place of work. The proposal complies with the MFMA as it is confirmed that the properties are not required for the provision of minimum level of basic municipal services. Madam Speaker, the parting of these even will also bring down cost for constant cleaning by urban waste management as it creates opportunity for illegal dumping. Developing these sites improve the safety and the aesthetics of Rowena Street for the existing neighbours. Intention to part with these properties was advertised as per public participation and it is in principle approved. The actual transfer will happen through competitive public process, ensuring the City of Cape Town remains transparent. No comments or objections were received from the Sub-Council Office, the local community or other interest persons. Madam Speaker, I therefore urge the Council to approve the recommendation as set out in the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. The recommendation is on page 589. Those in favour of the recommendation? Thank you. Those against the recommendation? EFF's against. The PA supports. All right, the Aljamaar is against. The recommendation is, however, carried, and we move on to the next item, which is item 25. And the speaker here is the Chief Whip, Councillor Visagie.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I would like to ask that the one change of Councillor Isaacs that's in the report be ignored, and then I'll read in the correction as well as some other changes. And these are as follows. Councillor E. Isaacs to be added to the Community Services and Health PC. Councillor Jack Miller to be removed from Energy and be added to Spatial Planning and Environment PC. Councillor R. Menard to be added to Safety and Security PC and then be removed from Corporate Services PC. Councillor N. Jacobs to be added to the Finance PC and then removed from Urban Waste PC. Councillor F. Solomons to be added to the Corporate Services PC and then removed from Community Services and Health. Councillor D. Goliath to be added to the Urban Waste PC and then removed from the Finance PC. Councillor V. Matanzima to be removed from Safety and Security and to be added to Corporate Services. And the new councillor, Councillor Cameron Patrick, to be added to the Safety and Security PC. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Can we agree to those changes? Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
All right. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
I just want to really apologize for not welcoming Councillor Cameron Patrick in my speech earlier. It slipped my mind to do so, but today is his first day in council and we very warmly welcome him as a new councillor here.
Well, thank you. Did you welcome Councillor Isaacs too?
Councillor Isaacs from?
CC. What? CCC?
I did not. I left out both of those.
All right.
A very warm welcome to Councillor Isaacs.
Okay, you're forgiven. Thank you very much. We move on then to the next item, which is item 26. And the first councillor on this item will be Councillor Stuart Pringle. Oh, is this the motion? Yeah. Sorry. Okay. The motion is from Councillor Nadwala. You may table your motion, Councillor Nadwala.
Okay. Thank you, Speaker. In December 2020, the City of Cape Town took a decision to discontinue the provision of fire and flood relief kits to residents outside of declared disasters. Since then, and for over 5 years now, Cape Town residents, particularly those living in informal settlements and in informal backyarders, have been left without municipal government support during devastating fires and floods that do not get declared as formal disasters, often leaving hundreds of families homeless and poor. The reason for my motivation is that on Friday, 9 January 2026, Over 5,000 people were left homeless following a devastating fire that swept through the Site 5 informal settlement in Danone. Reports indicate that between December 2025 and January 2026, thousands more living in informal settlements in Imizamo Yethu, Khayelitsha, Langa, and Blikkiesdorp, as well as backyarders in areas such as Vredespruit, Manenberg, and others, were also affected by fires that left families homeless and poorer. The most recent Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change assessment indicates that South Africa is likely to experience an increase in the frequency and severity of climate-related disasters, including fires, flooding, and other extreme weather events, even where risk reduction measures are implemented. These climate change-related risks pose ongoing threats to life, housing, and municipal infrastructure, particularly for families living in vulnerable communities, such as informal settlements and informal backyarders. Over the MTRF period, the city has cash-backed reserves and accumulated surpluses of about 7.8 billion in the 2025-26 financial year, 5.9 billion rands in 2026-27 financial year, and 3.5 billion rands in 2027-28 financial year, which represent one of several possible funding instruments to fund disaster responses. Based on its own revenue of just over 70 billion rands over the MTREF, the city could make provision for an annual allocation of between 300 million rands and 400 million rands dedicated specifically to disaster response and relief using the recommended 0.5% threshold. This would enable rapid, effective, and dignified responses to fires and disasters. The Disaster Management Act of 57 of 2022, read together with the National Disaster Management Framework, mandates municipalities to budget for disaster response, recovery, rehabilitation, and disaster risk reduction from their own revenue before approaching provincial or national government for assistance. Section 7.3 of the National Disaster Management Framework recommends that metropolitan municipalities allocate approximately 0.5% of their own revenue as a threshold for disaster response funding. Section 18 and 28 of the Municipal Finance Management Act, 58 of 2023, allow for use of accumulated surpluses and reserves for adjustments budget in response to unforeseen events. The Good Party hereby, therefore, calls on the City of Cape Town to 1. Establish a disaster response and contingency fund within the municipal budget in accordance with Chapter 6 of the Disaster Management Act, Section 7.3.3 of the National Disaster Management Framework, and Sections 18 and 28 of the Municipal Finance Management Act, at a level consistent with the recommended 0.5% of own revenue threshold for metropolitan municipalities. And 2, initiate a process to review the City of Cape Town's disaster risk management plan to ensure alignment with current disaster risks, including climate-related and extreme weather events, and to establish clear criteria governing access to the disaster response and contingency fund in circumstances where no formal disaster declaration has been made, with appropriate reporting to Council. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much. The first speaker is Alderman Pringle.
Nkosi somlomo. Speaker, Pambi Kukugala, I just want to express my condolences to those affected by fires across Cape Town, and particularly residents impacted by the fires in Dunoon. Sivela Nanani, I also want to thank the City of Cape Town staff who assisted where they were able to, and to those kind citizens and NPOs, thank you for your generous donations. But Madam Speaker, this motion isn't good. Hierdie mosie is sleg. omdat dit mense probeer mislei. It also ignores what the city is doing to assist people impacted by disasters in a highly centralized legislative environment. Councillor Nochwala appears to have misinterpreted the Disaster Risk Management Act, which seemingly informs his motion. Bad in law, bad in terms of governance, and most importantly, bad for those people who the movers of the motion claim to want to help, but who they've ignored until now, except of course to encourage land invasions and act against the city when it seeks to prevent land invasions. It plays on a terrible tragedy which has occurred to people who have been let down by the national government, hollowed out by decades of ANC misgovernance. It is also based on misleading information, which is not surprising, given the ability of good to form opinions based on an absence of evidence-based facts. It's quite a feat, almost as awe-inspiring as the Good Party's ability to tend to care while letting the ANC off the hook. Furthermore, it completely ignores what the DLS City of Cape Town are doing to assist people in the face of a national state which has been hollowed out by the past 3 decades of ANC centralized misgovernance, which the DA entered the GNU to fix. Senze konke okusemandleni ethu ngezinto esinazo. What makes this motion particularly tragic is that the proposal could have been made during the work around the adjustment budget, which we're debating today, but it wasn't. It was only brought because it was politically expedient to do so. In the meantime, there is money currently on the budget to review these disaster management plans as part of a process that was started last year, already long before this opportunistic motion. To speak while the DA, together with civil society and the broader community, acts to help those impacted by the failures of the ANC and their hangers-on is the hallmark of good and explains their vanishing electoral support. So let's just get a few things straight, Madam Speaker. The statement is made. In December 2020, the City of Cape Town took a decision to discontinue the provision of fire and flood relief kits to residents outside of declared disasters. The city did not continue fire and flood relief kits of its own accord. The program is fully grant funded, and the Western Cape government stopped approving funding due to national grant cuts, leaving it as an unfunded mandate. Councillor Nochwala's statement is therefore factually incorrect and misleading to council and the public. The motion makes further misleading statements. Goes further, it says since then and for over 5 years, Cape Town residents, particularly those living in informal settlements and informal backyarders, have been left without municipal government support during devastating fires and floods that do not get declared as formal disasters, often leaving hundreds of families homeless and poorer. What Councillor Nochwala fails to mention is that the city does not have the power to declare disasters under the Disaster Management Act. That authority lies with the National Department of Cooperative Governance, and the recent fire and flood incidents did not meet the formal requirements for disaster declaration, Nevertheless, the city's Human Settlements Department, in collaboration with other departments and partners like Gift of the Givers, provided immediate support to affected households, doing what it can within its means. It would be welcome if Councillor Nochwala joined the DA in calling for emergency funding to be devolved back to Cape Town, though, like other powers such as policing and rail, they remain silent. On the 1st of April 2020, sorry, Speaker, is my time expired?
No, not quite. Okay, quickly.
Okay, if I may. When initiating such debates, let's be guided by constitutional provisions setting out the powers, functions, and funding frameworks that give effect to a capable state, and supporting the City of Cape Town and the Democratic Alliance's calls for greater devolution of powers to deal with exactly these kinds of issues rather than being hypocritical. Thank you.
Councillor Bam. Councillor Bam, you need to unmute yourself.
The same thing as the Speaker or Ben.
Yes, I can.
Good day, Madam Speaker. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You first. Thank you. Carry on.
Madam Speaker, I rise today in full support of this motion because behind it are not numbers or reports, but people. More than 1,000 shacks were burnt down in Khayelitsha and Dunoon. That means more than 2,000 families lost everything they owned in a matter of minutes. Their homes, their clothes, their dignity, and their sense of safety. Right now, these residents do not have decent places to live. They are sleeping in overcrowded conditions, squeezed into shacks of neighbors, relatives, and good Samaritans. Some are exposed to the cold, to illness, and to further danger. This is not just a disaster, it is a humanitarian crisis unfolding in our city. Speaker, disasters do not wait for budget cycles. Fire doesn't ask whether funding falls under the jurisdiction of the national or local government. When people are in distress, the government must respond immediately and decisively. The city of Cape Town cannot afford to play politics while residents are suffering. We often hear the argument that disaster funding comes from the national government, but this council cannot hide behind that excuse. The city has a responsibility to act now to provide emergency relief, temporary shelter, and basic services. We cannot tell families who have lost everything to wait while governments debate who should pay. This motion is not about politic point scoring. It is about leadership. It is about compassion. It is about putting people before politics. Speaker, we are elected to serve all residents of Cape Town, including the poorest and the most vulnerable. When over 100 checks bend down, silence or delay becomes a decision, and it is the wrong one. By supporting this motion, we affirm that this council will stand with the affected communities. We affirm that the city will use its available resources to respond to the disaster when they occur. And we affirm that human dignity is not negotiable. I therefore urge this council to support this motion and to act with urgency that this disaster demands. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bengizi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, ANC rise in full support of the motion tabled by Councillor Nojoala from the Good Party. Madam Speaker, this motion speaks directly to the core responsibility of the Council to place a resident first, to strengthen their accountability, to ensure that our decisions translate into really improvements in people's daily lives. Madam Speaker, I want to emphasize something very important today. This is not only for moral responsibility, it is legal one. In terms of the Disaster Management Act, every municipality is required to allocate at least 0.5 of the total annual budget towards disaster response and recovery. That money is not optional, Madam Speaker. When a resident facing floods, fires, unsafety conditions, collapsing infrastructure, ongoing environment hazard, the question cannot be, do we have resources? The question must be, why are those legal required resources not being activated effectively? Madam Speaker, it is so sad to see people struggling to rebuild their houses when fires affect them and floods also affect them. Madam Speaker, let me remind you, City of Cape Town officials adopt its proactive reblocking of informal settlement policy, October 2013, to address density of informal settlement, rearranging shacks, creating safer spaces. Madam Speaker, ask yourself why that program was not implemented. The answer is simple. Those areas normally being affected by fire and floods are not DA control wards. That's why City of Cape Town do not have appetite to resolve it. Madam Speaker, this motion therefore does not ask for something unrealistic. It is simple as the city to use the tools and funding that already exist in law. 0.5% of multi-billion rand city budget is ring fencing for
disaster, the community should not be begging for emergency intervention. They should not be waiting monthly and years for basic services. The motion strengthening accountability being used to explain the delay in response, to prioritize prevention instead of always reacting after disaster has occurred. Mostly, it centers the lives of communities who feel abandoned in times of crisis, despite the fact that funding is already allocated in law for exactly this situation. Madam Speaker, supporting this motion is not about party politics. It is about compliance with the law, responsibility, budgeting, and ethical governance. We cannot, on the other hand, passing the budget that include disaster funding. On the other hand, telling the communities there is no capacity to act. For those reasons, I urge all councillors to support this motion and affirm that the city will comply with its legality obligations. Disaster funding will be used proactively. No community will be left exposed when resources already exist to protect them. Thanks, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor Plaatjes.
Good afternoon, Speaker. Am I audible?
Yes, continue.
Honorable Speaker, Executive Mayor, Councillors, MACO members, members of the media, good afternoon. The human cost of fires and floods in our informal settlement is real and deeply felt. We mourn with every family that loses a home. We stand with every resident whose life is disrupted. This is not political rhetoric, it's human reality. But grieving with residents and legislating on instincts are not the same thing. And this motion before us today, tabled under the banner of compassion, is built on misunderstanding of the law, governance, and fiscal responsibility. The Disaster Management Act and Constitutional assigns disaster management as a concurrent function across national, provincial, and local government. When a disaster meets the required legal threshold, national funding mechanisms such as the municipal disaster grants are activated. These funds sources are designed precisely to relieve municipalities of unilateral financial burden. This motion calls for the city to set aside 300 to 400 million rand annually, ignores the intergovernmental system of funding that already exists. Moreover, the cited 0.5% revenue guideline in the National Disaster Management Framework is a planning benchmark, not a statutory obligation. No sphere of government in South Africa currently adheres to it. Treating it as legal mandate is simply mischaracterization. Let us be clear what the City of Cape Town has already been doing and continues to do in response to disasters. Mayor Jordan Hill Lewis and MACO member for Human Settlements, Councillor Carl Popham, personally visited the site in the Noon fires to assess the devastation and engage directly with affected residents. The city, together with Gift of the Givers and community partners, coordinated donations drives and delivered immediate relief supplies to families who lost homes and possessions. This was not done by press statements alone, but through on-the-ground leadership and coordination. Our Disaster Risk Management Department continues to work with legal services, and we have already allocated budget for the comprehensive review of our Disaster Risk Management Plan, ensuring that climate change, extreme weather conditions, and risk reduction measures are properly integrated and proactively managed. This is not talk, this is action. The council who tables this motion has in the public domain actively criticized the city enforcement of land use and planning laws, and has publicly campaigned against action prevents unsafe and illegal occupation of land. This is his political right, but this council must judge policy on its merits and alignment with legal obligation and fiscal prudence, not political position. We cannot promote policies that tolerate unsafe land occupation, then turn around and complain that the results of fire and floods creating suffering and demand the city to simply write the blank check to fix it. That is not governance, that is political opportunism at the expense of sound administration. Even if the funding were readily available, There were legal compliance, including Public Management Financial Act, Management Financial Act, the Supply Chain Management Framework, and tender procedures and contractual obligations that protects transparency and accountability. And that constitutional requirement to coordinated with national and provincial disaster management fact. The disaster relief cannot be dispensed by press release or political grandstanding. It must be legal, ethical, and sustainable. We should not mistake emotional rhetoric for sound policy. Compassion without credible action is hollow. The real solution we need involve rigorous planning, enforcement of land use laws, investment in disaster risk reduction, not just response, strategic intergovernmental cooperation, accessible, well-governed funding mechanism, and partnering with civil society with relief. We must lead with both heart and head. Honorable Speaker, the motion before us today misstates the law, misallocates responsibility, proposes a financial reckless target, and stems from misunderstanding of governance rather than a plan for it. We owe our residents real solution, not political theatre. Therefore, with respect to this council and every vulnerable family in our city, I urge council to reject this motion in its entirety. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. We now need to vote on the motion. Those in favor of the motion indicate. Councillor Cupra, you're asking for the right to reply. I've gone into the vote, I'm sorry, but you substantially covered the points. Okay. So it doesn't have a majority, the motion is lost. We move then on to the next item, which is item 32, and the first speaker here is Councillor Little. Councillor Little, you can unmute yourself on your side. You are unmuted here.
I am unmuted.
There you are. Okay.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you so much. Speaker, this report comes from the Office of the City Manager, the accounting officer of the city. This is not a marginal department. It is the nerve center of supply chain management, contract oversight, legal risk, and the coordination of service delivery across every directorate. Yet the city manager's own report confirms that key operational targets were not met in the first quarter. Budgets were underspent, capital projects were delayed, critical vacancies remained unfilled. Supply chain processes continue to be cited as obstacles rather than enablers of delivery. This goes to the heart of the council's oversight role. How does the city manager credibly enforce accountability on executive directors when his own office is failing to meet its targets or resolve the very bottlenecks that paralyzes service delivery across the city? When the central authority responsible for coordination, procurement oversight, the implementation cannot stabilize its own operation. Accountability across the administration becomes selective, inconsistent, and fundamentally unfair. We are repeatedly told this is a well-run city, yet legal services alone spent over 20 million in just 3 months. Emergency and exceptional procurement deviations are no longer exceptional. They are becoming a routine. This is not evidence of control, it is evidence of pressure, delay, and reactive governance. For communities, these failures are not abstract. They appear as delayed housing projects, broken infrastructure, stalled maintenance, and service failures that end up in court instead of being fixed on the ground. Council is therefore entitled to a clear and specific account of what corrective action the city manager is taking to address the operational weaknesses in his office. Accountability must start at the top. Anything less erodes public trust and undermines the authority of this council. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor Deniso.
Madam Speaker, we note as the ANC, this report is for noting only, yet it reflects serious performance and spending failures in critical oversight department under the city manager. These are not operational department delivering potholes or unblocking of sewer drains. These are the watchdogs of government. Forensic, internal audit, legal service, and the ombudsman. When this department, Madam Speaker, underperform, corruption goes undetected, litigation increase, and residents lose protection. The city manager report high headline percentages, but when we examine the detail, we see severe underspending, vacancies not fulfilled, why we have the high rate of employment youth out there. Capital budget almost untouched. This is not efficiency. This is institutional paralysis disguised as performance. From the report, Madam Speaker, capital expenditure target 59.52%. The actual achieved is 0.54%. Forensic is meant to investigate fraud and maladministration, yet they spend less than 1% of their budget, of their capital budget. Hence, people like J.P. Smith are not arrested for fraud and corruption is because you spend less on forensic capital budget. Digital forensic tools and case management system are again delayed to Q4. The same excuse we hear every year, Madam Speaker. How do we find corruption when tools are not procured? How do we fight corruption when vacancies remain not filled? How do we fight corruption when investigations are postponed quarter after quarter? Legal services delay with real consequences. Capital expenditure target 31%, actual achieved is 5%, Madam Speaker. The Blue Downs Court project cannot proceed because the city still has not final bill of quantities and is waiting for more funding in the achievement budget. This directly affects access to justice for poor communities like Blue Downs, Mfuleni. While the residents wait for court and legal infrastructures, the city continues to pay escalating legal fees, matters drag on, and settlements cost millions. Internal audit undermine oversight. Capital expenditure target 95%, actual achieve 7.89%. Internal audit cancel orders and reprioritize funds. This means, Madam Speaker, audit system not upgraded, risk detection weakened at a time when municipalities across the country are bleeding money. Cape Town is not investing in its own defense mechanism. Ombudsman, residents left unprotected.
Thank you.
Capital expenditure.
Thank you, Councillor.
In conclusion, Madam Speaker,
the Mayor, you may close the debate.
I move the item.
Thank you. It's for noting, so we all note the item. We then move on to the next item, which is item 34. And here we have Councillor Mutswana.
Ms. Speaker?
Yes, are you on Councillor Peters' computer?
Yes, thank you very much,
All right,
Speaker.
that's fine. Carry on.
Speaker, this item is for noting. Speaker, this report talks about equitable and effective service delivery to the communities. Also, Speaker, if the city of Cape Town listen to the ANC, we should avoid the whole spending. If you check, Speaker, we spend a lot of money around Cape Flats. If you check Cape Flats, Khayelitsha Township, we spend more than 23 million for fixing pipes and sewer collapse. More than 23 million is a lot of money, Speaker, if you listen to the ANC. Area like where you spend 5.2 million golf course, you spend 6.2 million in Philippi, Khayelitsha, spending a lot of money, which is the taxpayers' money. And Speaker, as you know that the mayor always standing and speaking very well about Western Cape or City of Cape Town doing very well. But look, the spending.
if you listen to the other political parties, maybe we'll avoid this whole spending. Therefore, City, as we are saying, we note the item, but there's a certain issues, and you must listen. You see, Makasa, how bad is Makasa? Because of you don't want policing. It's not also Makasa. Recently, it was Kuyasa for the same problem. So I'm saying we note the item, Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Witbooi.
Good day, Speaker, members of the council, Mayor and your MACO team. Thank you for the sterling work you're performing throughout Cape Town. Thank you for being an inclusive city, and thank you for providing hope. Service delivery is vital because it directly determines loyalty by ensuring consistent, high-quality experiences. It bridges the gap between consumer needs and service availability, fostering trust, encouraging positive word of mouth, and creating competitive advantages. Effective delivery, optimize operations, boost efficiency, and ensure essential public service. Social cohesion is the strength of relationship, trust, and sense of belonging that binds members of society together, acting as the glue for social stability, cooperation, and collective well-being. It involves shared values, low levels of inequality, and active participating, enabling communities to manage diversity and reduce social exclusion. Hope is an optimistic state of mind which you provide through all of Cape Town. Cape Town loves you, Mayor. Cape Town supports you, Mayor, and the DA is behind you, Mayor. Thank you for the sterling work and the growth and the economic growth that is taking place through all of Cape Town. Mayor, I rise, Speaker. I rise on the item before us today. The item is for noting. And I want to thank the supply chain management team and the city manager for transparently acting in the best interest of the city and adhering to all of these policies. If we look at the items in the report, it was emergency items, it was necessary for service delivery, and it was unavoidable. I so move this item. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much. It's for noting. Can we note the item? We move on to item 35, Councillor Lombi.
Good afternoon, Speaker.
Good afternoon. Carry on.
On behalf of the ANC, Speaker, we are noting this report with concern. We identified two directorates, namely human settlement and urban waste management. On human settlement, we note that the mitigation strategy on the land invasion at Inkaneni must not be treated as a JSE whereby one is generating profit through security companies. I must say, Speaker, a delay on housing opportunities is equal to a carelessness. We can't sit here acting as if noting reports is a service delivery. We are calling to the directorate to fast track and implement this project before the winter time. On urban waste management, we have a concern on the non-payment of workers in Strand area and the smash and grab that is happening in distributing a tender on the non-performing companies, and that has no capacity to carry out the job. We're therefore calling on the City of Cape Town to look deeper into this matter. I therefore thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor Viljoen.
Good afternoon, Speaker. This item is for noting, as all the items was discussed, debated and agreed upon in the portfolios by the different political parties. I want to thank all the portfolios for the items that have been signed off and the dedication to keep the City of Cape Town in front service for service delivery. Thank you. The item is for noting.
Thank you. The item is noted. We move on to the next one, item 36. Councillor Pierre.
Good afternoon, Speaker.
Good afternoon. I can hear you. Can carry on.
Yes. Thank you very much, Speaker. The item before us speak about the resolution taken by the executive mayor and the MACO members. One of the resolutions that have been taken is to extend
the water contract within the Stellenbosch municipality and the city of Cape Town. We hope for this extension, Speaker, that will decrease the water tariffs, in particular to the poor areas. As you know that we have high unemployment rate in our areas. So we hope that it's going to decrease the tariffs. Also, Speaker, we also welcome the resolution that have been taken of accepting the grant from the German Development Bank, which state very clear its purpose of assisting the vulnerable and violence prevention, also early childhood. It's clear, Speaker, that this money or this grant is directed to the poor areas. We want to see the reflection of this money in Philippi, Samora, Kanin, Ndlovini, Site C. Just because, Speaker, we always see this money going on other side of N5. On this side where it is needed the most, we are not getting it. So we hope this money is going to distribute it very well, and we are going to monitor for it. The last one, Speaker, we noted the money that is allocated for MECO members to go to summit. We're hopeful that when they come back to summit, they will come with
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. They'll come with a report. Mr. Mayor, you can conclude.
Put the item.
Thank you. The item is also for noting, so we all agree that we note the item. Thank you. That, councillors, concludes the open session of the meeting. Before we move to the confidential agenda, can I ask that the official ensure that the YouTube link is terminated and that all guests removed from the MS Teams link is checked? And can the officials then confirm that we may proceed with the confidential agenda?